Good evening, wrestling fans. Here we are with our District 1 preview. It's that time of the year again. Some say the greatest time of the year. Season's upon us. Starts this Friday. I'm sitting here next to me is Glenn Kaiser, former head coach at Hatboro Horsham. Mike Leister is the man behind the scenes, and we're getting ready to give you our preview of the season. Followed up with some stuff about college wrestlers, postseason realignment, top incoming freshmen. We're going to hit a lot of different topics tonight. Just looking forward to another great season here at District 1 PIAA and we're gonna do our best to bring you the best possible coverage to you guys throughout the season. Glenn, glad to have you aboard this year. Real quick, how's it feel not being a head coach?
It feels really good, although I'm still in the room a little bit with the Hatters. But I really am looking forward to being on this side of the table for sure, calling some matches with you and putting some things out here through PAWrestling.com here in District 1. It's always been important to me to promote the sport, and particularly our district at the state level. And I think we're doing a good thing here. And I thank you and Mike for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, no, we're glad to have you. It was always fun, going back 2 years when you tapped us on the shoulder at that Penridge Quakertown match, and took a few minutes to get the headset right, but we had you on, and it's been fun ever since having you on for different spots and things like that, and your great outlook. You're the historian of the Suburban 1 League. We do appreciate that outlook coming from that part of the district.
Well, it's a lot of fun. If you're not having fun out here on the wrestling mat, at a tournament or sitting at a table calling a match, you shouldn't be around the sport. It's a great sport.
Yeah. So PA Wrestling's been pretty busy so far in the preseason, getting out to different scrimmages, interviewing coaches. And right now we're going to show a clip of what some of the coaches' outlooks are for this season. And, you can enjoy that. And we're going to talk about our thoughts on some of those coaches. It's a little bit of a clip here. We're going to talk about, 20 different coaches make an appearance. And they're giving some of the coaches. We couldn't get to all of you, with the district being so large, but we hope to talk to more as the season goes on, and talk about how your season's going. But these were the ones we were able to get to for the preseason.
Chamonix has a young team. We only graduated one senior. We have two seniors this year. Brock Lineback was a section champ, and we have 15 incoming freshmen. We're about 38 wrestlers, so most of them are freshmen, sophomores. A few juniors in there as well. So for us for this year, our goal is to try to stay healthy, minimize mistakes, and we're competing with teams like Council Rock South, Council Rock North, even Truman's coming along and have a great program that's always competitive, and they beat us last couple of years. So that's one of our goals to start going back and beating those teams that have beaten us over the last few years. Yeah, at 113 this year we have Zach Martin. He's coming in, very experienced wrestler, very hard, good work ethic. He's a leader in the room. I think he's a kid that's going to surprise people. He's at 113. We also have two freshmen that are club league wrestlers, youth wrestlers that have been wrestling for a long time at the 106. So the wrestle-off was close. So every week these two wrestlers are going to be fighting for the position. So I think they'll do well as freshmen.
We're looking really good. We have big numbers this year, which is always exciting. We have a lot of young wrestlers, and we're continuing to develop our senior class here. We graduated one senior from a year ago, so we're really excited for not only for our team goals this year, but also as individuals returning to state qualifier and getting a transfer, a two-time regional qualifier into the program.
And who's that?
That's Matt Needleman out of LaSalle. I feel pretty strongly that we'll be a top 10 contender this year, and hopefully making a deep push in district duels and maybe a berth for state duels this year. We returned 11 starters from a year ago, and our freshmen that we have coming in to fill those empty 3 spots there are phenomenal in my opinion. So I think that we'll fare pretty well in a dual meet against anybody. Nick's trying to go all the way. Last year the podium escaped him, but hopefully he'll get there this year at states and be at the top of that.
We have a lot of work to do, I guess is the best way to say it. The kids are working hard. We have a lot of inexperienced kids, a lot of things that we've been working on, and they're obviously making progress. They're never quite as polished as you want them to be, but we're putting in the work right now. Yeah, last season was awesome. I think in many ways we overachieved. Our kids really stepped up when they had to. I thought we wrestled well under pressure. We had some great leadership. However, we lost 2 state semifinalists. and then we lost Lukey Resnick and 2 other seniors, so that's a lot of leadership we have to replace. And we need some guys to step up and take over those roles. It's really kind of funny. We see a lot of kids taking leadership roles in different ways. Dan Mancini and Tyler and Ricky McCutcheon, Cole Meredith, Antonio Petroselli, Jason Zollers. I've seen him kind of step up at different times. So we got a whole bunch of guys right now who each in their own way are kind of getting the other guys moving and trying to move this team in the right direction.
I mean, obviously we lost 3 studs in Kennery, Livingston, and Cronin, but I think we have a team that's going to be competitive. We don't have the outstanding kid that we've had in the last couple of years, but I think, especially in the Central League, we're going to be competitive. I think, in District 1, we're going to be able to hold our own. In the Central League, you always got to consider Garnet Valley. I mean, they lose some people, but they're always strong. Marple's going to be stronger. Hopefully we're in that mix. I think that this year the Central League's going to be down a little bit, but there's always some good kids in that league.
I'm looking forward to a good season. We only lost 2 seniors from last year, so we're returning a lot of our varsity guys from last year. We brought up about 20 freshmen from the middle school, so that is a positive. But I'm hoping that we can compete in the Central League, finish in the top half, and make some noise at a couple of our dual tournaments. Yeah, we do have a couple that stand out just from the first couple weeks of practice. Cole Peichel, he's going to be a middleweight. He's been looking very, very good so far. And we have an upperweight, Matt Natal, who's also been wrestling his butt off. He's been wrestling with our heavyweight, Lee. He's given up about 60 pounds. So it's definitely pushing them and making them better, but I'm very looking forward to seeing them guys on the mat.
Well, we're on a rebuild this year. We graduated a lot of seniors last year, so we're for the most part we're a young team, young program, but we do have a good core of guys who were with us last year, who got some mat time, got some varsity experience. So we have a good nucleus to build around, and we do have youth. We brought up we're bringing up a good core of freshmen that really want to work hard and really want to get better. We got 2 kids who go and hit the wrestling circuit off season, Cole Deary and Griffin Hollingsworth. So we have another Hollingsworth on the team. Those 2 guys are guys we're looking for big things to come this year, as well as, like I said, our youth and our nucleus with our program. So we're rebuilding, but I think we get the pieces together and the guys spread out, and we get a good lineup together. We will, test some teams, and we'll go after some teams, and we'll hang in there and hold our own this year. So that's our outlook for this year.
It's an interesting one. We don't have any seniors on the team this year, so we're very young. We got a really solid group of juniors that have been starting for us the past couple years, so we're asking them to step up and be the leaders of the team. We got a nice group of like I said, the juniors and the sophomore class they have some talent in there, and in the freshman group that came in, they won. Both our middle schools won the league. I should say they tied for first and second. They placed. So we have a lot of young guys coming in that are going to do very well for us. So Don DeFalco comes in. He's a PJW guy who placed 3rd. He's probably the top of the group that we have freshmen coming in. We got some bigger guys that could do some damage and some 170. We have Micah Kunkel, who 70 or 82. If we can get him in there. Hansi Moose, James Lacey, one of our big guys. So it's rare to get freshmen that are that big in the upper weight. So we're looking forward to them maturing and really picking up a few notches.
We're pretty excited about this year. We have a lot of returning guys, worked hard. They're doing a nice job, so we really don't know what we have yet, but we're pretty excited to see how this plays out. We got a pretty good 6-pounder, Kyle Hauserman. We're pretty excited about him. We had a pretty good day today. Other than that, you know, we got some solid sophomores coming back as well. You know, Lucerne, Sammy Hayes, Cam Robinson, Dylan Sheehy. These are all pretty solid softs that we're pretty excited about.
Well, we lost a lot of hammers last year, but our goal is always going to be the same. I don't think that'll ever change. My immediate goal is to make progress. Doesn't matter. Dual meets, beginning of the season tournament, that's all practice. It's basically an experiment, and my goal is to make improvements every day and then peak at the postseason. The only thing that really matters in our eyes is the postseason, district duels and individual postseason. So my job over the course of the year is to try and find my guys' losses and then fix our mistakes and improve on the things that we're already doing good. And then peak in the postseason, get as many guys through each round of the postseason. Again, losing all those seniors from last year, you can never replace them. You know, there's hundreds of wins and lots of medals. So now we're looking, you know, for our next guys. We don't consider guys like JV guys. We call them the next man up. So we'll see who some of our next men up are. One thing last year, one of the silver linings from last year, we were injured most of the year last year. So we had a lot of guys, some underclassmen fill in and get quality mat time. And then they even, you know, some were able to wrestle in the postseason and made it to the regional tournament and whatnot. So I'm looking for those guys who got mat time last year to continue to make improvements. I'm not looking at any individuals right now. We just want to continue to make improvements, like I said, have fun doing it. And, you know, I can go, we have Ben Radner's a senior, Mike McKinney's a senior, Colin Waterman's a senior. You know, those guys have been with the program, so I want to, you know, hopefully they have fun, successful senior years. We have a huge crop of juniors back. You know, state qualifier Max Mendez, LJ Kahn with 6 regionals. We got Eric Walsham back. So, you know, there's a ton of guys. And our sophomores, guys like Cole, some other juniors, Braden Ricchini is back, was a regional qualifier. I'm sure I'm missing guys here. Nick Corbich was a regional qualifier. He's back. So we have a core group of kids that are just, you know, they're really fun to coach. I couldn't be happier coaching these guys. They're good people off the mat. And so to me, that makes it more rewarding. Now we have some sophomores coming up as well, Cole Flanagan and Kyle Waterman. So, you know, I think we're going to be solid. We're just, you know, looking forward to the year. It's a great time of year. I can't wait till the whistles are blowing for real, though.
Cool. I'm hoping that our young wrestlers develop and mature. We're very young and small. We have about 6 freshmen that could get in the lineup. We're not the top shelf, but we should be right in the hunt for 2nd or 3rd. Kennett and us match up pretty good as far as numbers go, so that could be a good one. All right, great. Our numbers are down.
I have a bunch of freshmen that came in this year. We're actually young as a team. I got some kids that are going to do well in the postseason. Team-wise, we're young. It's going to be tough winning matches. We don't have 13 guys on the team. We're going to work hard. We're going to do the best we can do as a team.
We bring a lot of guys back from last year. We have some 2 regional medalists and a few other kids that have been to the regional tournaments, some district medalists back, and good young crew coming in. So we're pretty confident we can compete for one of those top 10 seeds at district duels and wrestle in the ultra competitive Chesmont National like we do every year. Every team in the Chesmont National is a good, solid, full dual meet lineup, and we have to be ready every Wednesday night for that challenge.
Well, we're going to contend for the league title again this year. Send as many guys as states and do well in the postseason as always. I think Penn Ridge will be tough as always, and Satterton, they have a lot of young guys that were last year, so they look to be tough again as well.
I'm really excited for our team this year. We have a very young team, and so I'm looking forward to the growth and potential through the season. We have 1 returning state place winner this year and several other guys who are looking to make their mark and let their name be out there, and so I'm really excited for Boardtown Wrestling this season. We have 40 guys on our roster right now, and 22 of them are freshmen, so we are going to have a lot of new names in our roster and on our lineups. So I'm excited to see what they have to say for themselves.
I think this is probably going to be my best team that I've had so far since I've been there. This is my 4th year. We have a nice core group of seniors that's going to be on the way, and then we have a good group of freshmen that just came in. So I think we'll be fairly competitive, with our schedule and who we have in our league. I think Kevin Rainey at 113, good chance. Chris Green should see a fair amount of time. So those are my 2 guys I think potentially that could show up on some of the postseason stuff.
Pretty good. We've got some seniors up top. I think we have 4 or 5 seniors in a row up top. So we're excited about them, having a good season. And through the middle, we've got some young kids, some novice kids in there that are going to have to step up, and they'll have some tough lessons to learn. But they should have a tough season. It should be good. Yeah, we have a freshman, James Geiger, who's ranked 29th incoming freshman in the state. He's had a really good career throughout the youth program at PJWs. He's won a state title down there, and I think runner-up a few times. So he should develop well this year. We're expecting him to have a good season. We will compete in the league. Souderton's pretty tough. They had a good season last year, and they have a great coaching staff, and I know they're working hard in the offseason. So another team we like to keep our eye on, Souderton, North Penn, and Quakertown's not in our league anymore, but we always like to be kind of in our mind. They're always there.
I feel we have a good mix of experience and youth. We have some goals this year. We're trying to fill out our lineup, get a reliable 14 in there. Last year we had to forfeit 2 weights because numbers were down. Looking to avoid that problem this year. Looking to have a better dual meet record. Last year we finished 11-11. We want to get above 500, no doubt about that. Do better in our league, and continue to try and send wrestlers to state tournament. We have at 106, we have a wrestler named Keanu Manuel. Tough kid, a lot of experience, a little undersized, but he's growing by the day. Look forward to watching him. We also have a freshman in the middle to upper weights, probably about 60, maybe 70-pounder, Matt Romanelli. He's got some quality experience, good head on his shoulders. So we're looking for pretty big things out of those 2.
I think this team can compete for a regional title this year as a dual meet and as individuals. Obviously that always depends on health of the team and injuries. So, we got a lot of seniors this year, and if there's a year that we can do it, this would be the year to do it. We got a couple of freshmen. I don't know that they're going to be an impact in the varsity, but excited I got a heavyweight, or a 95-pounder that I'm hoping I'm getting some mat time and help build for the team for next year. Though we didn't have a huge freshman class this year, but we got some guys that are seniors that'll be like freshmen because they haven't had a lot of season time, and I'm gonna have a junior at 106 that I'll be excited to see how he does. And again, he hasn't had a lot of varsity experience, but I think he can be a guy at 106 if he gets a chance to get some mat time.
Rebuilding is probably the best way to say it. So we're just trying to get numbers up. I think we had 8 to 10 on the team last year, and right now we have 18 to 20 on the roster. So that's the biggest battle right now, is getting our numbers up. Got a couple freshmen that are real tough. Paul James Bebley, he's pretty tough, and the one that's ranked as freshman is Trent Kokesberger, and he's going to be real nice. He'll be sitting around 120, 126.
Right now we're just trying to get to put together a team of 14 guys and fill the weight classes. Got a lot of guys grouped together now, just trying to spread them out a little bit and get in the best shape we can. I think we're very heavy loaded with our seniors. We have a good group of senior kids that we're excited about, that have been with the program for 4 years. Brandon Meredith and Matt Lepore, our heavyweight, and so they're kind of our leaders, and we kind of look to our seniors right now.
So there you have some of the coaches from this district giving us some input and some of their thoughts on the season and what their teams have to offer. It was a very, like I said, we got to as many guys and coaches as we could have talked to. We'll have some videos down the line here tonight about talking to some of the wrestlers in the district. But Glenn, what did you take away from talking to these coaches and seeing the video?
Yeah, I mean, I got to get out there and interview some of these coaches. It was really a lot of fun to kind of ask questions on the other side of the camera to coaches, because we really don't have that conversation too much before the season. And I really like what Brad Still and Perry said about, it's the next man up. And I think as a coach, when you can say that about your team, that shows that you have a good outlook, not only with your program, but with the incoming team that you're going to put on the mat this season. But, just the next man up. And I think when we get into our top 12 teams, we're going to see some teams that have some new looks, not only with new coaches, but with some freshmen and some wrestlers that we anticipate to get to Hershey and get up on the podium. I really like the next man up. I think that's kind of almost our motto. I mean, I talked to my new head coach about it, and it's just amazing that's that philosophy, next man up, and that's what we're going to do. I mean, and it seemed like everybody, has some growing pains, whether it be, young teams or not enough numbers. We all have, different scenarios with our teams, and that's nice to see across the board that we're all kind of struggling with some of the same things as well.
In talking about Coach Stillman Perry, I think it speaks volumes about the program that they've built there at Rock South, where, it has been next man up, and it has been a culture of winning since their inception. And, again, he said he right away went right to, hey, we graduated a bunch of hammers, and they did. I mean, they graduated, you look at the likes of Zach Trampay, Joe Doyle, the Palmer brothers, Tyler Getman, just to name a few. I know I'm probably forgetting someone in there, but those are guys that brought success for that program for a while. I mean, Trampay, a runner-up and a state champ. In a medal, and I think 6th place as a junior. Joe Doyle, runner-up last year. I'm sorry, not runner-up. He was 3rd, I believe.
Yep.
But that just speaks volumes. And then you have Tom Ivakwa talking about what he brought back. Brad Breeze, DeRaffalo, Rocco Fantazzi. They're one of the teams that we'll talk about hit hard by graduation. But again, when it comes down to it, building that longevity of success that, especially the run Garnet Valley was on, like, it speaks to the programs that these coaches have built around the region, and have been like banner teams for us carrying the flag.
Yeah, and you mentioned Downingtown West and Coach Breeze, and he mentioned that this could be the year for them. This is a team that's kind of built from top to bottom. Solid 14 wrestlers. I mean, they're going to be a team to contend with, and he's definitely positive about the outlook for his team, and I think most of the coaches are positive about their teams, especially these top 10 teams that we're going to talk about. And some of the teams that haven't had recent success, they may be rebuilding and getting themselves back in shape to get back into the top tier, and Happy Horseshoe's one of those teams that's trying to get back in there. But if you look down at all the rankings and all the preseason chatter about these teams, you're going to see O&J Roberts, you're going to see Springford, you're going to see Boyertown, the Council Rocks, and it's going to be interesting with Downingtown West in the mix this year. I think they're going to be a prominent team in District 1.
So we mentioned top teams. Probably everyone's waiting to see. Glenn and I both did our top 12 teams. We couldn't just stay with 10. We had to go 12 deep. Just because of the level of competition, teams we thought that are going to make some noise this year. Some new faces that are in both our top 12s for that matter. And then there's again a good sprinkle of the old guard that have built that consistency that we were just talking about. So we have some of the coaches that we're going to talk to right now about their thoughts on the top teams in the region, and then we're going to finish it up with Glenn and I coming back, and we're going to talk and we're going to unveil our top 12 and talk a little bit about each team and why we think that they're going to be where they're going to be. So sit tight, take a look at this video we have here, some clips talking to some coaches from around the region, talking about their idea of the top teams this year to watch out for.
Council Rock South's always going to be a threat. Council Rock North was so young last year that they're going to be really good. Pac-10 wise, I think it's still O&J Roberts and Springford, and right here in the Chesmont, I really believe that if they stay healthy, that Downingtown West could be the very best team in District 1, dual meet wise at least, this year.
Council Rock South is always going to have a program. They did graduate a lot of really talented wrestlers, but they always have kids in the backup. So South and North is a young wrestling team too, as well, like us. But they picked up some good lightweights over the last couple of years, so they'll be a powerful team. Outside District 1, the fact that Boyertown has changed. Penn Ridge is another team that's perennial, has the power and the numbers in there as well.
I think if you're asking me right now who the top 4 teams are, Council Rock North, O&J Roberts, I believe one of the Downingtown schools, Downingtown West. I would say those are the top 4 teams.
Okay, cool.
So, and then we'll be in there somewhere.
Well, close to home here, we have Council Rock North and South. They're always tough. They got great coaches, great program up there, and I think O&J Roberts is another strong team this season, as they always are.
Downingtown West looked really good today. South's always tough. O&J, I think, is returning a lot of tough kids. Yeah, it's going to be tough. We'll see what we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It's kind of early.
Well, you know, Council Rock South is always going to be up there in the top tier, as well as Boyertown. We hope to be up there as well. North Penn usually has a good squad, and you know, there's a few names that, you know, we always kind of keep on our radar, keeping up.
You know, I really like some of the old staples, and like Council Rock South always put a nice team out there. Boyertown can never be underestimated. I like O&J Roberts lineup. They have some quality newcomers with experience. I really like Downingtown West. I think they may have one of the most balanced lineups in our region. So I'd primarily be looking at those 4.
You know, year in, year out, it always seems to be Boyertown and Council Rock. They're well coached, they're deep, their youth programs are phenomenal. So it's, I mean, I'm going to obviously give those 2 the nod. Penridge has some individuals. I don't know how deep they are, but they have some very good individuals. Methacton's a strong team, and you know, then you have your Downingtown West is actually going to be very deep this year. So
I'd say Council Rock South, Council Rock North right here today. Downingtown West, obviously O&J's loaded. They're going to be, you know, right in there in the mix. And Boyertown, a lot of people are counting out, but I have a feeling Boyertown's going to be right up there where they always are.
I think the pack once again is going to be very competitive when you got teams like Methacton and Springford and Boyertown that you're battling with every week. It's not an easy road, and those are some of the tougher teams in District 1 as well. I think Springford's going to surprise a lot of people. I think if you looked at last year's district duels and you saw Downingtown West and you saw Council Rock South, they returned a lot of kids, a lot of really quality kids. And then you saw a team like Council Rock North have a tremendous group of young kids last year. You know, get all those kids back. So it's going to be fun this year.
Top team across the southeast. You have Council Rock South. You have North as well. I think O&J Roberts could be a top dog in there, and it looks like maybe Downingtown will sneak in.
I mean, O&J Roberts is going to be really tough. You can't count out Council Rocks. They're always tough. You know, down our area, you know, Westchester East, Henderson. I mean, they're always competitive. So we just try and hang with them.
You know, South is obviously tough. I think Boyertown is, you know, until they prove otherwise, they're always a team that can be tough. So O&J is going to be tough. Council Rock North was really solid. We saw today, you know, up to, you know, their middle to upper weights. They may be a little falling apart up top, but they're going to put some points on the board early. So they're going to be a team that I think a lot of people might be overlooking, but I think can be very, very tough.
So there you have it. Here, there are some of our coaches that we were able to talk to about their thoughts on the top teams here in the in District 1 in the region. Before going further, we are live tonight, and you know, with being live, we can take live tweet questions. I think it'd be a good time to promote that, given we're about to give our top 12 teams. You know, hopefully we get some, you know, feedback, good, bad, indifferent. Please keep it clean, and you know, that way you can, you know, maybe get a question to us as to why we have those teams where we have them, and you can tweet them too, as you can see the screen behind us. You can make any general tweet you want to put out, as long as you put the hashtag PAD1 Wrestle, and that will come right to us here at the, you know, the computer here off screen here, that we'll be able to look at and see. Or you can tweet it to me at Coach YB. That's with 2 E's on the end of it, or just to PAWrestling.com on Twitter, and you know, we'll be able to get those questions hopefully answered to the best we can, or to your satisfaction, or maybe not at all. But you know, Glenn, just watching that video, it's pretty cut and dry where everyone's you know, hitching their horses to this year for top teams in District 1. If we were penciling and keeping tabs, the same 4 teams were mentioned a lot, maybe 5 if you want to throw Methack in there, but, both Rock South, Rock North, Downingtown West and O&J came up. Springford came up a few times. And, on the screen behind us, and it's going to come up on the screen, you're going to hear us talk over it, will be our top 12s. But it's kind of funny watching those coaches, kind of be diplomatic, again, not to single out Coach Stone Perry, but, he talked about all those teams, and then at the end he said, well, maybe us there at the end. And, just seeing how all of them are kind of downplaying, especially, Sidesoft, Duraflo, Breeze, Vivaqua, Silm Perry, all, kind of downplaying what they got.
And you could really tell in the earlier video with Coach Vivaqua that he is really excited about his team this season.
I'd be too if I was Coach of Rock North.
Yeah, I mean, and so is RP Norley at Penn Ridge. He wants to be in that grouping too. I mean, so again, when we do these rankings, I got to say, Mike has always been the leader here with these rankings, and kind of forced me to do my own little formula. And I think I came out with a pretty good one, because when we got them both together, and you provided your little analysis and your point system, I think we did a really good job. I think there are some analytics here in wrestling. Not a whole lot from this guy, but certainly from Mike on the other side of the board, that helps us do this. But certainly we did put a lot of time into this. I think the rankers all year long do that. So, Mike, if you want to put that up, and I think I'm going to start with mine, and feel free, Joe, to jump right in. And as you can see right away, the top team for both of us is Council Rock North. And you heard the coaches talk about Council Rock South and Council Rock North. What are the differences? Well, the differences are, again, I got a chance to talk to Coach Silm Perry on the side, and he said Council Rock North has some stars on their team. I mean, they're up and coming stars from last year, and we're going to see a lot of those guys at the next level. So Council Rock North for me was kind of an easy pick, especially after I looked at the returning guys.
Glenn, I couldn't agree with you more. Going with Council Rock North here as a top team. I went with a more analytical approach. I went with wins, losses, returning, and wins and lost wins for this coming into this season. And looking at it, Council Rock North returns 93% of the wins they had last year from last year's team. They graduated 1 senior, Aiden Burke. He had 16 wins last year. Missed a lot of the season with an injury. And so as a result of that, that's what was ultimately driving my decision. They returned the most regional qualifiers. They had 2 state qualifiers, returning 1 medalist in those 2, and they're young at that. So they're my pick at number 2, or I'm sorry, number 1. I'll go next. Go number 2. I'm going with what might be the maybe the most complete team. I'll say that if that makes sense. I'm gonna go Downingtown West. I just we had the opportunity to cover them last year. I just love what they're about. They're a team that's relentless. They come at you, they attack. And I know I'm gonna forget guys, but obviously Zaff coming back as a returning state champ. They lose Cole Zaff to graduation, but they got Doug back, returning state champ. Nick Lilly, returning state qualifier. So you have those guys that are coming back and be leading that team, and they have a whole host of guys, the Hale brothers. Again, I know I'm going to forget guys, and I don't have them all right in front of me right now, but I just feel like their coach Brad Breeze has those guys ready, and they're going to definitely challenge for top spot in the region.
Yeah, and Joe, you also did a returning not only percentage of wins but also wins lost, and Council Rock North only lost 16 wins off of that team, and you'll go down the list, and we'll mention some of our rationale and some of these other teams down on the lower part of the rankings. But Downingtown West, on your chart there, they lost 91 wins, and they're still going to be solid. I mean, they're filling those holes. And you heard Coach Breeze say that some of these younger guys probably won't see a lot of varsity time. So again, they're a next man up scenario as well. I told you that's going to be my theme throughout. But Downingtown West is clearly out there right now on the coach's mind. So I'm sure we're looking for some good good stuff out of them. Next up, I'll go to 3, and this is where we run into our first difference. And I really struggled with putting O&J ahead of Council Rock South, knowing that Coach Sillen Prairie, year in and year out, he does have the next men up and fills those lineups up. But I really kind of went with the young experience at O&J Roberts and the old experience with O&J. And I just know that when you wrestle O&J Roberts, whether you're wrestling someone individually in a tournament from O&J, or you watch them wrestle a dual meet, or God forbid you have to wrestle against them, they bring it. They bring the house. They're tough for all 6 minutes out there. And they're just a tough team. They're going to be a tough out in District 1 all season long. And they may be the top of the Pac-10, which tells you, I mean, that's the toughest league out there right now, and they're sitting at the top right now.
My number 3, I went with the Rock South. Again, year in and year out, they're one of the top teams in District 1. And, I sometimes catch flack for being an O&J homer. For those that don't know, I am a teacher there. But I just think Rock South, they just have too many guys that have filled in and been role players in a sense in years past, and now those are the guys that are going to be leaned on to be the guys. And they got transfer in from Malvern Prep, Shane Hanson Ashworth. That is going to be is going to bolster that lineup. It's going to soften the blow of losing those 5 hammers, and it's going to make it a little bit easier pill to swallow. So, that's where just the subtle difference is. Again, right now, these on any given day, it comes down to the coin toss. Could change these top 4 teams, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and Coach Sill even said, come the end of the season, it could be they could be right in there.
Yeah.
So that those could be interchangeable, those two, but we'll see.
So just one more thing about Rock South. Again, Rock South had 381 total wins yesterday, last year, and they lost 176 of those, which comes out to 53% of their wins. And just to show you that next man up mentality, they're still this well respected because just a ton of guys that got experience last year. And you look down their statistics and how many guys got 16, 17 matches varsity experience throughout the season. They do a great job of getting guys in matches, albeit maybe planned or as a result of injuries. But nonetheless, they do get those guys that experience. And, talking with Downingtown West, just to backtrack one thing, Downingtown West, you mentioned 91 wins lost from last season's team. They still returned 75% of their victories from last year. So, it's one of the reasons why they're up at the top, on top of having the complete lineup.
Yeah, one more thing about Council Rock South. They did have some injuries last year and guys not make it through the whole way in the postseason. But, with a healthy Ben Radner, that's a solid core. And there's a lot of medals there. Like Coach Sill said, there's a lot of medals probably on that team. So next up, we both agreed on Springford at number 5. And, Springford just returns a ton of wrestlers that advanced, into the postseason last year. We're going to get a good look at them at the Abington duels. I think it'll be a good litmus test for the Hatters. But Springford really has not lost much. In fact, I think they've gained. I mean, you have to look at your stats and give me the information on that. But when I ran my power rankings, Springford, from an individual standpoint, they're solid. Their numbers are really good in terms of postseason, progression, and that just translates to dual meet wins.
Yeah, definitely. If I could back up 1 second, add something about O&J. O&J is going to enjoy getting Connor Quinn back in their program. He left his freshman year wrestling at Malvern, and for whatever reason is back at O&J, and that's going to bolster their lineup. He was a national prep qualifier last year. And so it takes a little bit of sting out of losing the Resnick brothers, Nick Douliakis, and the O&J room. Again, I get to see it quite often. There's just a lot of talent rolling around in there that sees the mat, doesn't see the mat. They got guys that are weighing, and there's a lot of guys, looking at like a Connor Leister. As a kid, didn't get a whole lot of experience in the varsity lineup, because of the weight shift for the postseason. Gets inserted in the lineup last year and places at the PAC tournament, helps them to that PAC championship. So, you just look at some of the guys like that. Austin Bowman's another guy that could be starting in other programs. And, he's in there every day grinding. He's going to take every match he can get. So it's a definite, it's about those guys that are the next man up. And like you said, it's kind of the resounding theme for tonight. But going back to Springford to our number 5. So Springford, our number 5, again, a team that, from last year's squad, lost 78 wins out of their total 282. So you bring back 72% of their wins from last year. And I think in that I did include Jack Files, who did leave the program, and I believe he is on the team at Pope John Paul. So, those are wins that will be added to their program returning. But, Springford, as we'll talk about some of the freshmen coming in, they have a great freshman class coming in. Some kids that I'm familiar with, having seen wrestle for the last 2 years in the middle school ranks. And they did get a transfer in from Virginia State champ. His name escapes me right now. And again, that just makes that lineup that much better. And again, one thing about a Tim Sliceoff and a Springford coach team is they're going to come in and they're going to come wrestle hard. They're going to be in your face, and they're going to look to just be a tough opponent and tough out for any team that they wrestle. And typically in the last few years they've come on strong late. So we can't really judge them by what we're going to see so much. You can see what their lineup looks like, how they wrestle, but till after you get to 2 pounds, they always seem to come on real late and do a nice job.
Yeah, we're talking about that off camera a little bit. That teams later on in the season look a lot different than they do early on. I mean, imagine if you're St. Joe's Prep. I mean, you're not getting football players until well after the first couple of tournaments. But I mean, seriously, some of these kids coming off the football field, some of the kids that haven't wrestled all year long, I mean, they're going to get into a groove, and these teams are going to be peaking at the right time. I mean, that's what coaching's all about, and these are all good coaching staffs too, these top teams, and that's why we see them in there year in and year out. I mean, everyone says rankings this, that, but these are good programs. They're all good programs. Again, at number 6, we have a little bit of a difference again, but not too much off here. I went with the Boyertown team. This is an unknown Boyertown squad to a lot of folks. We're not sure. There's a new coach out there. Obviously, the Boyertown program doesn't change. These kids are next man and up too. I think the next Matt Wild might be right on their lineup right now. Maybe it's the next Jordan Woods on the lineup in this lineup this year. So I just went with the old Boyertown pride here, and the Bears are going to be tough, and whether they're at 5 or 6 or 7, they're another tough out anytime you see them on the map.
All right, so we got our first question of the night through Twitter. I got a few through text message. Something coming from Lee Forrest. See you, Lee. Thanks for the question. We will get to that question. That is actually something we're definitely going to talk about tonight. And I'm glad you brought it up, because it will give us an easy segue for later. So Lee, sit tight. I'll get to that. We'll get to that question here in a little bit. And I want to talk about my number 6 right now, Westchester Ruston. There's a program that was on the rise. They're not a very old program. They're still in their infancy stage as far as the school being around compared to some of these other schools, except Rock South. But the thing I like most about Westchester Ruston is it starts from the top down, and a lot of respect for Brad Harkins and the job he does there. I know last year his numbers were way up, and we talked about it before we covered one of their matches about how they have to have 2 different practices every day to get all their guys in because the room wasn't big enough. And just it's a testament to the program. And you've seen the results, the Callender brothers, Dan Labus, Hurley, the Hatzapovadis, and I know I just butchered that name, the brothers, but you get the idea. There's been some guys that have come through that have been state qualifiers, state qualifying caliber guys that have really put that program on the map. And so I have them at number 6 because I know this is Westchester Ruston's best team, but I think again they're going to be in the mix for top 6 and be in the conversation come postseason for district duels, and they have a lot of good individuals that are going to look to make that next step.
Yeah, and they're one of the few teams that have 2 returning state qualifiers in Colin Hurley and Dan Labus, like you had said. So there's a lot to be said about a team that has 2 state qualifiers, and that's good leadership for that squad. At number 8, again, this was a team that kind of jumped up a little bit for both of us with our power ranking system that we use, at least the analytical part. And Penn Ridge just is an outstanding individual tournament team. And they're able to put points up in the dual meets, very similar to an explosive Penn State, team that can, up top can really put some points on you and get the bonus points. And that's the kind of team that they are. And Penn Ridge adds, a freshman we're going to talk about a little bit later. Penn Ridge never went away, and I think that's something that we got away with North Penn, winning that league title the last 2 years against them. But Penn Ridge is going to make some noise as a dual meet team this year as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think RP Norley does a phenomenal job there with that Penn Ridge team. Always has that, providing year-round opportunities for them to get better. He's in the youth program. He's helping that to get better. He's doing a lot of work that a lot of these coaches do, and he does it effectively. They enjoyed a good run there with a nice large group of hammers in that regard. Some of those hammers have graduated. Next group's coming up. Stillings is on the end of this run here before next drop. Evan Whitting, who we'll talk about later. That is part of that group a little bit, but we'll talk more about Stillings in a little bit too when we talk about our top returning wrestlers. But overall, the program is not going anywhere. It's going to be one of those top teams. Come district duels time, they'll be in the conversation for top 16 to get in. And again, they're dangerous because they attack and they put points on the board. They're very good at scoring bonus points. So we move on to our next number. We go to number 9 for both of us was North Penn, and I think Glenn and I, we talked off camera, we chatted via email several times throughout the week in the last 7 to 10 days. North Penn, in our opinion, is kind of like the same as Penn Ridge, just not the same firepower to put bonus points on the board. Same number of quality kids, tough kids, well coached. Schätzlein, Freiling, doing a great job there. Schätzlein's been, the face of that program for a while. Zach Freiling, one of the, district's all-time greats, helping with that program. And, as a result, they have a good mix and getting guys, deep into the postseason and to Hershey. Colin Shannon come off a year, which he was a state semifinalist. He's graduated, he's gone, but, again, they'll have, one returning state qualifier and, one returning state qualifier, two rather, and they're going to be in the mix.
Yeah, they're very good up top, North Penn. And that's a point depending where in the old days, if we closed with heavyweight, North Penn would be favored in a lot of the close matches because they are very strong up top with both Ryan Cody and Owen Vresby. So North Penn and Penn Ridge are going to battle for that league title most likely again, and maybe it's the third time a charm for North Penn, but Penn Ridge is going to come in at the 8th spot to start for us. As we jump to number 10, again, these 10, 11, and 12 teams. We were going to go with the top 8 and, kind of do that thing, but we looked at it and, definitely had to go 10 deep. But those honorable mentions and those 10, 11, 12 teams are really interchangeable. That's something we talked about a little bit before we went on here tonight. And I'm just going to talk quickly about Hatboro Horsham. Hatboro Horsham, we return 9 guys that are district qualifiers. 2 of those guys are regional qualifiers, and one of them a state qualifier. We have a transfer in Matt Needleman from LaSalle, who brings a load of experience from a LaSalle team that wrestled twice at states while he was on the team, and he's a 2-time regional qualifier himself. So the Hatboro Horsham team really just brings back. If you look at it, we have 11 starters back, and 9 of those guys have district experience. So I think Hatboro Horsham, top to bottom, we should be a solid dual meet team with 14 bodies every time out there. And as we know, if you have 14 wrestlers, you can win just about probably 75% of your matches in District 1.
Yeah. My number 10, I came in Westchester East. And it might turn some heads. Maybe I'll see a tweet or 2 about that, and that's fine. I'm going to justify it here. I look at Westchester East and the job that John Gallo has done, and this is kind of like the make or break year, I think, for this program. He's got a lot of return guys. Most notably by Corey Salenza, who was 6th at Regions last year. A match away from going to states. Andrew DiBernardo had in my opinion, a little bit of a letdown from his freshman season when I thought he was a hammer in the making. Didn't quite I felt make that next step, and I'm really hoping he does this year because he's fun to watch when he gets on top. I think he surprised a lot of people as a freshman, 152 pounds, a tough weight class to break in, and he would get on people and just maul them. I'm hoping to see him get back to that form. Maybe he was dealing with a little bit of injury last year.
Yeah, I think he'll get himself back to states this year.
But Westchester East returns 93% of the wins that they had from last year. They only lose like Rock North only lost 16 wins off of last season's team, and I think it was Mike Maneri was a senior graduate, had 16 wins. So you look at what Westchester East brings back, and that's why I put them at 10. Now something we're going to talk about, and it goes in part with the first question we got about strength of schedule and how it affects things. We'll talk, and I put Hatboro Horsham as my number 11, and again, like Glenn said, 10, 11, 12 could be interchangeable. I'm going to talk right now about Hatboro and Henderson and piggyback it into East as well. Of those three schools, I think Hatboro has the toughest schedule, mix of duels and individual tournaments. And again, but Westchester East just returns a little bit more as far as returning wrestlers and wins. And then look at Henderson. Henderson is kind of like anomaly to me. We talk about the strength of schedule and the job that Rob Begley's done down there, and it's he's doing a nice job. But last year when he got to district duels, he ran into some problems, and they won 20 some matches and it didn't exactly go their way. They didn't get the best seed possible based upon their record, but that's another story. That's for the seeding committee to deal with, not me. And Westchester Henderson returns a lot. Rising star in District 1, Killian Delaney. So right there they have something built around the Fair brothers. There's some definite talent returning. They did lose a lot from that team, a good group of seniors, and there was 5 seniors that he lost that will be missed, but he's doing a good enough job that he's getting kids wrestling year round. Rob's he's all over the state with his team in the off season with kids. Anyone who wants to wrestle, he's getting in a car, he's driving with driving to go coach kids, and that's how you build a program, and he's on the right track there. So we'll see, like they're going to be in that fringe, I think, for that anywhere between 8 and 12 top teams in the district all year long. And like I said, even not out of the question that Hatboro or Westchester East finds himself creeping up these rankings based upon what they're able to do. Right out of the shoot next week, Westchester East wrestles PW in a match. We'll see what they're all about. In the following week, we have Ruston and East on the 20th of December, a match that potentially we might be covering as our match of the week, and that's going to be an early match here before Christmas. It's going to not shake things up, but you're going to get to see kind of where those teams are at, see if Westchester East is for real, and maybe see if Westchester Ruston is what we think they are.
Yeah, some of these dual meet tournaments early, the Bear duels and the Abington duels is going to feature some really good District 1 teams, and hopefully they'll square up against one another. Obviously at the Bear duels they will for sure. So we'll kind of get a little bit of a sense of where these teams are. However, these are not going to be the same lineups we're going to see next week. We're going to start to see guys drop at Christmas time with the 2-pound allowance. So I think teams will tighten up around Christmas time with the individuals with the 2-pound allowance. We come back in January, we'll start to see this thing play out. And I just wanted to mention again Joe's numbers here. And you look at these two teams, Hatboro Horsham and Westchester East, both East and Hatboro Horsham lost very small amount of wins, 16 and 19. 16 for East and 19 for the Hatters, and then 93% back wins for Westchester East and 90% wins back for Hatboro Horsham. I mean, those are numbers that are really decent. So I was the only odd man out here with Westchester Henderson. I have Methacton in here. Methacton kind of is an unknown this year. We have a new coach there. We're going to talk a little bit more about coaching the new coaches in a minute, but you cannot rule out Methacton. I mean, all the coaches in the pack. They mentioned Methacton when you're talking about the Pac-10, and the pack has not really changed much in terms of wrestling, and Methacton is right in the mix. So I would not want to be in that league and have to wrestle that day in and day out every Wednesday. Sometimes they're wrestling twice at the end of the year, those dual meets. So don't count Methacton out. If you're worried about somebody not being in here in this top 12, we do pick 16 later on. I'm not on that seating committee anymore. I'm going to just sit in the back of the room and enjoy the coaches, get that right this year. But 16 teams for the district duels, and we look forward to the rankings the rest of the year.
Yeah. Talking about Methacton, and we'll talk about the new head coach Brad Clark there in a little bit later in our broadcast here. But again, you look at some of the young talent they have, and like you, AJ Maida stepping down, by no means left the cupboard empty for the next coach to come in. And there's a lot of young talent on that Methacton team, a lot of young firepower. And a few guys leftovers that are veterans of that team, not leftovers per se, but that are upperclassmen for them. So and talking about our top 12 teams, we're going to change gears a little bit and get into go from talking about teams to talking about our best individual wrestlers returning, and top returners. It's not exactly the banner year for District 1 with returning state medalists. We don't have a lot. We have 5 returning state medalists from 4 from last year, 5 including Ryan Vulak, who's now at PJP. He was, as you can see there on the graphic, he placed 8th at 132 pounds in 2016. Was unfortunately ineligible in 2016-17 season, could not wrestle. But you look at what we have coming back, and we have a lot of guys come back, and I'm going to start talking about Luke Lucerne. Young man in my opinion, didn't know a whole lot about. Got to start seeing him wrestle towards the end of the season. We didn't get to see Rock North, and I can only follow what I could read and what I could see on PIAWrestling.com. But once I got to see him wrestle, first of all, and this is no disrespect to Luke, you look at him and I was calling him the babyface assassin down the stretch last year because he is so unassuming looking. He looks like the perfect kid down the street, and he gets on the mat and he is an animal. And if anyone was paying attention at states last year, he was seconds away from being in the state final.
Absolutely.
And that is something to think about. It was almost an all District 1 state final, and he was right there in the mix. And I was sitting mat side for him. It was a phenomenal match, and the opportunity he could have had to have a rematch with Zaf would have been great. And again, he's a kid that following throughout the summer, and he hit the circuit of guys that definitely put in the time over the summer to get better, and I'm really excited for the sophomore campaign.
Oh yeah, and obviously he wants to climb up the medal stand. I mean, coming in, returning 6th place as a freshman. I mean, it is a talented freshman class coming in at these 2 weight classes down low. So we'll see how he does up at 120 if that's where he ends up. Making a little bit of a jump, but a natural progression, I think, for the lightweights. But Council Rock North, I expect several medals for them this year. I mean, so he's just one of many on that Rock team that or some of our top wrestlers. I mean, of course, then you have Elijah Jones, 5th at 182 last year. I know you can talk a little bit more about him, but certainly he's looking to get up on the top of the podium. I think when we talk about the next 3 guys here, including Luke as well, but certainly these 3 guys are looking to get to the top. And I know, Joe, you know a little bit more about Elijah.
Again, Elijah Jones, a guy I've watched grow up. I remember him as a freshman. He was just all arms and legs. He was just this tall, lanky, body, and he looked times like he come on the mat and looked like he couldn't get out of his own way. But again, a kid that once he got his hands on you knew this kid was going to be special. And you saw it last year in that run to 5th place. And there's a lot more. And we're going to talk to he's going to come up in our returning wrestlers video. He wants more. He wants so much more than that. His brother's coaching for his senior year. It almost has like a kind of the makings of a storybook type of situation. Older brother, someone he's looked up to a lot and is going to be his head coach for his senior year, the last ride. It's hard not to like the kid, and he, the way he wrestles with so much passion and intensity. He just loves the sport and loves to compete, and it's going to be fun to watch him and see where he ends up at the end of this.
Yeah, and certainly talk about strength of schedule, and Boyertown's schedule is just going to help Elijah get to where he needs to be. If he wants to be on top of that podium, he's got a schedule to make it happen. I'll talk quickly about Josh Stillings. I got a chance to interview Josh for an article I did for the Pennsylvania Wrestling News magazine. And Josh has wrestled just about everyone that he possibly can. Certainly not only locally but nationally. Finishing second this year in the Super 32. He's looking to get on top of the podium. I mean, he has one goal in mind, and that's a state championship. So I think you're going to see a different Josh Stillings this year. I think you're going to see him open up on his feet a little bit. He talked about that. He also talked about not being happy with the comfortable, 2-1, 3-2 type matches, knowing that he can control riding on top from his stronger position, which is on the mat, riding on top. But if he can't score points from the top position in term, he's going to cut him loose. He's going to open up, get some takedowns, and look for the fall that way. So Josh Stillings, I mean, this is probably his year. I mean, if we're going to have two guys, obviously with Zaff already crowned a champ last year. I mean, if we have two guys that we can hang our banner on, I mean, it would be these two guys, Josh Stillings and Doug Zaff.
Yeah, and to piggyback what Glenn said about Josh Stillings, one of the nicest kids you're gonna want to ever meet or come across. Polite, very soft spoken, and again one of those kids that he gets on top and I use the term a lot. He just mauled kids last year, and he doesn't say a whole lot. But his wrestling and his efforts speak volumes about him as a person and a wrestler. And he's one of those kids that this is just he's got big goals with wrestling, and this is like a part of the journey for him. And next year going to Drexel, and I think he's gonna be one of those guys that we see that is very successful at that level and maybe beyond because of his ability to ride. And not saying that neutral was where he was weak, because I felt last year going into the regional final that Ryan Resnick would be able to get in and finish shots, and if he could have avoided going underneath, Josh would have a good opportunity to beat him. And all Josh did was take him down twice, get an escape, and win 5-0, pretty much convincing as you can be, without pinning or lighting the scoreboard up. It was never it was matched after probably the first takedown was never really in doubt. And he's only gotten better from that position and from the neutral position. And, it's a testament to, again, he's kind of like the anytime, any place, anywhere kid, where it doesn't matter who, where, what. If there's a pickup match at the park and someone rolls a mat out, Josh Stillings is going to be there wrestling. And, so that's the type of guy he is. And he's got a great support system. He's got, with RP Norley, for those that don't know, his mom, Raleigh, is phenomenal at getting him places and doing what's best to get him to those tournaments, to get him as much competition as possible. So, again, it's hats off to, being put in all those opportunities by his support system through his program and family. So I'll start with off on Doug Zaff as well. State champ last year. You can't say much else about last season. He did it all. He took on all comers, and he even bumped up at times when he didn't have to. What was best for the team, and he spent time at 120, 113, eventually settling down at 106, and really just asserted himself as the top wrestler in the state going into the state tournament, and was the favorite going into it, and came out on top. Again, guy that's got huge lofty goals, wants to be a two-timer, knows there's going to be work to do, going to probably debut at 120 pounds, maybe 126 this year. Don't know if he's going to stay there. That's something we'll probably be tracking throughout the season. But a guy just loves to attack, loves to score points.
Yeah, I probably might be a good segue to roll into the tape here. I mean, Doug's going to talk a little bit about staying up at 120 for college, but certainly a 45-2 record last year. I'm sure he wants to rack up some wins. I'm not sure who the all-time win leader is out there at Downingtown West, or if he has a shot at getting it, but certainly an opportunity for him to kind of maybe have an undefeated season and another state championship. I mean, that's kind of a dream goal for all wrestlers. So, Mike, if you want to take us right in.
Well, Harry Lilly, I know you're watching. Got the, we caught a typo. Again, we're work in progress as always here at PIAAWrestling.com, and probably a lot of you others have maybe noticed it behind us in the graphic. And when it was up on the screen, Doug Zaff does in fact go to Downingtown West, not Downingtown East. Sorry if we offended anyone. Shannon, if you're watching, we apologize here from PA Wrestling. I don't want to get an email tomorrow from you, or you stop down my room and say something. But yeah, Harry Lilly, thanks for catching that. And we'll duly noted we made a mistake. We're gonna follow up now with just a video of some of the wrestlers' expectations that we just talked about.
My expectations are the same as every year, to improve. I want to get better every year, go a little bit farther in the postseason, pick up a few more wins. I think there's a lot of opportunity at 220 as a weight class as a whole. I think there's a lot of room for new guys to step in and really make a dent in the postseason. It's going to be a tough race, but I think we got a good team, and I think we got a shot to make another run and do well again as a team.
I have some pretty high expectations, not going to lie. It's not so much that I want to place a certain place in states or anything. My goal is to be a state champ hopefully this year, but the main goal for me is just to have fun and wrestle as hard as I can in each match, and what happens during the season happens during the season. We're really pushing it hard this year. With the new head coach, practices are looking a little different than they have before, and I think a lot of guys are stepping up into showing that they want to compete at a high level. One thing, I just want to be more aggressive on my feet. I'm always attacking, and then I worked a lot over the summer at different camps and trying to do different freestyle clubs in order to try to improve more on my ability to work off my feet and to get in on the shots better and be able to finish what I started.
Well, this year I'm pushing for states. I came close last year, making a few upsets, and I think I can actually do it this year, come up on top. My neutral was kind of weak last year. I was always looking for scrambles, so I'm going to be looking to shoot hard, always get the counter, and take them down first. I think we'll do really good this year. We got 15 or so freshmen coming in, and it just makes our team strong. We only graduated one senior last year, so it's only making us stronger.
I feel good. I feel like I got a lot of work in this offseason, feel prepared and strong and ready to go. I like to work on everything, just find my weaknesses on my feet, definitely focus on that, and top game and just, overall strength and conditioning. I think we got a lot of talent in the room. We just got to, outwork people. I think we can do anything that we want to set our minds to.
Good. I feel good. I've been doing a lot of stuff over the summer. I've been working hard and glad to be back for the season. Well, I definitely wanted to get bigger for college. That was one of my main things, but I guess just improving in all areas, top, bottom, neutral. Focused a lot on just keep attacking, not reaching, just the basic stuff. I think we're going to do well. I think we can accomplish a lot of things, but we just have to keep working hard, and that's what we tell our guys every day. Just focus each match at a time. I'm going to start at 126. I'll see how I feel there and then keep going, but obviously I got a lot bigger since 106, but I feel good.
I feel good coming into the year. Strong, ready to wrestle, and ready to have some fun. In wrestling, I think I need to improve on just a little bit more technique, when to take my shots, when to not take them, and just work on that stuff.
What are your expectations at Hershey this year? I know you're looking to return there and medal. Are you looking at a state championship this year, or is that a goal of yours right now?
Yes, sir. Dream about it every night, so hopefully it comes true.
I feel good. I'm ready to go, so I'm excited for it. We look really good this year. I think we're going to be better than last year, so we're wrestling hard. Yesterday we had a tough practice, and we're coming in today. I'm just pushing myself to keep scoring. Like last year I was content with a 2-1 match, so this year I need to push the pace a little more.
Last year I made the states. That was a big improvement from my sophomore year. But this year I'm definitely looking to medal at states and up my offensive game. I had a good shot last year. I'm really trying to perfect that shot, and I'm going to use it at states way more and see myself on the podium. So, there's still some ranked guys that were juniors last year and they're coming back up. But last year, I wrestled a lot of ranked guys. I'm very used to them, and definitely not afraid of any pre-rankings or rankings at all.
Really feeling energized. I'm pretty pumped up. My first year as an upperclassman, so I feel like I've been peaking. I've been trying to improve all my stuff, working hard, so I feel pretty great coming into the season. We have great numbers, so we have a lot of kids that can push each other in the room. I'm trying to push the younger kids. We're all working together to grow stronger. Yeah. Well, I feel the reason for that was by conditioning, but I've been working really, really hard to improve that this year. So, moving my feet, taking shots, being offensive. That's what I'm trying to improve upon, and I'm looking forward to it. We'll see. 32 at first, probably, but we'll see where I drop down to.
We're back.
Yep, got to incorporate some of the local talent here to give their opinions on where their off season took them and where they're at now. Another question came in on Twitter, and Lee, like we haven't forgot about yours, from Springford78. Tim, is that you? Sizelob, you chiming in? Question coming in: what's O&J's lineup look like? Not bad. That's what I got right now for you. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Again, can't let what we know about a lot of teams' lineups. Not sure we're going to let the cat out of the bag on anyone individually. But, like any team that was mentioned in the top four, they're pretty solid throughout. And if you look at what they have returning, you can see if and what potential holes they might have. It's not my place to comment on it. They're going to be out wrestling this Saturday. You're going to see what they're all about, at least somewhat before the 2-pound allowance and guys move and shift and things like that. But just like any team, they're going to be pretty tough this year. But we have a few teams in the region that are in that conversation, pretty tough teams. Going in with the top returners this year. Aside from the state medalists, we have 24 returning state qualifiers from last season, and we're not going to be able to talk about every single one of them. I'm going to talk about a few that and Glenn too are going to talk about a few that we think that are going to make that level change from being a qualifier to getting on the podium. And in no particular order, I'm just going to go alphabetically. And for me, let's start with Hunter Katka. Rumor has it, that he's going to be at 220 pounds this year, moving up. And for those that saw him wrestle last year, as a 9th grader at 195 pounds, he was like a man-child. And I think 220 is going to be a weight class that's going to be pretty wide open statewide. And, he's going to be someone that we see from the region that we'll lean on to be one of the heavy favorites to win a medal that hasn't done so yet.
Yeah, and this is the first time in a long time where up top, the Southeast region has a lot of solid returning guys. I mean, you just start there with Katka. You look at Chapman, who most likely will be at 220 as well. Ryan Cody and Nick Cooper, heavyweights. So I mean, the upper weights for District 1. I mean, not only returning guys, coming back to Hershey, but guys that can medal in wide open weight classes at 220 and 285. So certainly looking forward to seeing how those guys do. Back to O&J Roberts for Springford, 78 there. They returned Danielle Massini and also Cole Meredith. So, two guys returning there for O&J. If you stay right in the Pac-10, it's not the Pac-10 anymore. It's the Pac. I know. So I keep forgetting that.
Old habits die hard.
Yeah. And Springford, they have Chase Smith. They have Brandon Meredith. Springford, two guys, right there out of the gate to look at returning. So, again, look at that Pac. And I'm sure there's another group of Pac guys that you have on your list. I know that you're going to mention that aren't on the returning list, but we talked about Cam Robinson earlier, Josh Stahl, guy from, Quakertown, the lightweight 106, not really sure where he projects this year, but he was a little guy, maybe he stays there too. So it's going to be exciting for these returning guys. I mean, I always look forward to those guys, see how they do the next time there.
Yeah. We talked to Brandon Meredith. I expect him to get back to the podium this year. And, another guy I'm excited to see, Killian Delaney, I apologize, as a freshman, was a kid that, was just fearless. Never hit that freshman wall, went to states and knocked off a returning state medalist and Gio, I think it was Barzona or Baranza. I'm not exactly sure on his the pronunciation of his name, but again, went in to a situation where he'd never been in a tournament like that before and had some success. Didn't get on the podium, but he's a guy I definitely expect to get to the podium today. Another guy I would say that has made trips to Hershey before, Gunnar Fuss. I think he's a guy that makes his way onto the podium. You mentioned Dan Mancini. I think this year he gets on the podium here as a junior. Nick Lilly, another guy from Downingtown West, return qualifier. I think he gets to the podium this year. He was a guy I really, I make the predictions at the end of the year. And, he had a great district tournament heading into regionals. And in the 5th and 6th place match at regionals, avenged a loss from district duels and the freshman Antonio Petroselli from O.J. Roberts to get to states. And, he just had a great postseason. You just see that the confidence in his wrestling that changed. And, as a result, he projects himself to states. And I think this will be the year that he makes that level change and, gets catapults onto the podium. Other guys in our region that, could make their way onto the podium this year, I think Max Mendez is poised for that as well. I think he is another one of those Rock South kids that, not even next man up, because he was one of their hammers last year. I think anytime you win 44 matches in a season, you're doing something right. You're not just next man up. You're one of the guys that is essentially going to carry the team, and he'll be definitely leaned upon that for this year.
Yeah, and you also talked about LJ Khan, who took 6 at regionals last year. That's someone that we're going to be looking to get him up to Hershey this year. I mean, so again, there's that Council Rock South next man up. So keep an eye on LJ Khan as well.
So there's some guys we felt, would get to Hershey this year, get to the podium this year. Let's talk about some guys that made regionals that are maybe looking to take that level change and get to Hershey. Another guy you mentioned earlier about Jackson Erb. We talked about off camera, a guy that 6th at regions. He's been in the mix a few times. Is not exactly it's not foreign to him from the Chamonix. We think that he's got the potential to get to that level. And maybe beyond, who knows? Once you get there, anything can happen, as we've seen, with different guys that place low at regions and end up, a week later they're on the podium as a top 8 in states.
Yeah, another guy in that 6th hole from North Penn, Patrick O'Neill, last year, 6th at regions. So there's another guy from North Penn that could join 2 other guys on the team and possibly more for North Penn.
Yeah, Dan Labus, been definitely watching what he's done since seeing him at District Duels as a sophomore. Won a big match against North Penn to seal the match for them and move on. That Westchester Ruston program coached by Brad Harkins. I think he's just a real tough kid on top. He's fun to watch. And, he's got, devastating cross-face cradle that, throws from everywhere. 2 other guys I'll talk about. Antonio Petroselli from O.J. Roberts, freshman, finished 6th at regions last year. Again, another guy that does a lot in the offseason. I think he's poised to make that level change and get himself to Hershey. Kid that I personally coached, has lofty expectations for himself. And, I think he is, he's motivated, he's driven, worked extremely hard at becoming better every single day. And the last one I think I'll talk about is Alex Ramondo from Coatesville. Due in part maybe because I just watched his senior highlight film in football, and for that great Coatesville team that just came up a win short from the state championship game. But watching him on film, he's relentless, and that's kind of what you see flashes of on the mat. And if he is as relentless on the football field, or if he becomes as relentless as he was in the football field on the wrestling mat this year, he's been a really formidable opponent even in that 220 heavyweight range, because he's compact, he's strong, and super aggressive. So he's definitely gonna make some noise. He was 6th at regions last year. Definitely gonna be looking to improve upon that. And he's a guy that not only could make states for the first time this year, but it's not a real possibility that I would go on the limb and say that he's a guy that could be, we talked about later in the season, being on the podium for first time being there.
Yeah, you also talked about Keyway McNair from Methacton as a possibility of a guy not only getting to Hershey but possibly medaling. So let's keep him in mind this year when you look at that Methacton team. And also, Ethan Seeley was a 6th place, finisher last year at the region from Great Valley, another upper weight. So we have we have a nice group of upper weight. I like to talk about the heavier weight guys. I think the lightweight guys and the middleweights get all the attention most of the year. But we have a really nice group of upper weights, and Sealy's another guy that might get a trip to Hershey here.
Yeah, and we can go on and on. We can name a ton of different guys. Like Jared Coons would be a guy that definitely watching. Tyler Callender. We've got the list in front of us here. Will Marco Di Battista, will he make the change from being a state qualifier to a state medalist this year? These are all we could sit here and talk for another 45 minutes just about guys we have that we think have the potential. And if not, we're going to try and shorten when we're just talking about the guys that we feel have the best opportunity right now. And again, there's a lot of wrestling to be had. A long season ahead. A lot of things can happen. And, there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know how much work guys put in the offseason. Who's going to make that level change? Who are even dark horses that weren't even district qualifiers last year that at the end of the year we'll be talking about them, that being, great story about qualifying for state. So, don't take, what we say here, if you're not mentioned, that, don't take offense to it. If not, use it as a motivation to work harder every day in a room so that we do talk about you when it comes time.
Yeah, and certainly, this weekend will kind of give us a little bit of where people are going to be weight-wise. So I as a coach, always look, to that first weekend to see where are guys wrestling right now, where are they going to be in the next couple of weeks, especially for the dual tournaments. And then when we get those 2 pounds of Christmas, you start to see the postseason shape up around Christmas time when we get those 2 pounds. In the old days, it was kind of the other way around. We had to wait, a while to see where the guys are going to go. So this is a big weekend to see where we are in terms of guys at weight classes and what teams look like with their lineups.
Yeah, talking about this opening weekend, there's potential for, there's going to be a Boyertown Council Rock North matchup in their pool at the Bear Duels. And, O&J's got a tough opponent, several tough opponents in their pool, most notably Bethlehem Liberty. If they are able to navigate that, we could see either a rematch of Boyertown O&J, which has been the final there the last 2 years, or potentially O&J Council Rock North. And there you go. Two teams are going to be facing off, in that pool between Boyertown and Rock North, top 2 or top 1, top team according to us, which by no means expert opinion here, but you get the idea. And Boyertown, which we both have as a top 10 team, I think we believe have them at 6 or 7 or in and around there. And then O&J, again, their top team, at least on paper, and based upon what they have coming back, and based upon opinions of a lot of coaches, a lot of people out there, their name is in everyone's mouth right now. And those teams couldn't be squaring off head-to-head in opening weekend, which makes it super exciting. Speaking of the Bear Duels, we will be there covering the final of PIAA Wrestling. Will be there covering the final of the Bear Duels. I'm not sure of Glenn's availability.
I'll be at Solanco.
Yeah, so he just, as much as he wanted out, he couldn't get out all the way. He's 1 foot out the door. So, we will take Glenn where we can get him and welcome him with open arms and bring his opinion and knowledge of the sport. So we're going to change gears here. We're going to start talking about some guys. Actually, you know what? Let's backtrack a little bit and mention this before we talk about the guys that have chosen to go to college, and we talk about the guys who are District 1 alumni wrestling college. Let's talk about something that was brought up by Lee earlier in the questions. And Lee Forrest's question was, which teams do you feel go to the tougher tournaments through the regular season? And the second part of it is, do you feel that makes a real difference? Well, let's answer it 2 parts. So which teams do you feel go to the tougher tournaments year in and year out? Let's look at the top teams in the region. And Rock North, Rock South, O&J, Boyertown, Penridge, those 5 right there. Penridge, their schedule is not what it was when they had a group of hammers, but they still go to a lot of tournaments. Ruston gets a lot of competition, yes. So you look at then, we talked about a little bit with the end of the top 12 with, Henderson and East. Again, a lot of wins coming back, a lot of talent, but the schedule does not compare so much with those top teams. And again, it's easier when you're good and you have that reputation because people want you to come to their tournament. And it's not you look at Escape the Rock, for example. You got to apply to get in, and there's a whole application process. It's not like, hey, we got an opening, and you're just going to take it. No, you got to apply, to get in, and it's kind of wait and see whether or not you're going to get in.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams at the top, they go to more than one King of the Mountain. They go to the King of the Mountain and Escape the Rock. They go to the Beast of the East, and they go somewhere up in the Lehigh Valley. They go to the Powerade, or the Ironman. I mean, there are tournaments that if you have elite kids, you want to get to those tournaments, but taking the rest of the team there, that helps as well. Teams that get out of District 1, they cross, they go out to District 3. They get a taste of Central PA wrestling. Even if you want to go out a little bit further, keep going towards, Lock Haven State College. You get out there, and of course the Pittsburgh area is always tough. So teams that travel, they're better teams. They have better programs. And I've been a big proponent of this all my coaching career, that teams need to get out of their routines. They need to get out of their league, especially early, and go test themselves somewhere else. So strength of schedule matters in these rankings. And certainly the top programs have proven that year in and year out.
A wise man once said, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And to get that competition is so important for your team. I just pulled up Rock South's schedule here now. They're a little bit like the Suburban 1 teams have a little bit of advantage, say, over a team from the PAC or the Chestmont, because they wrestle less league matches, which means they ultimately have the ability to go to one more tournament.
That's correct.
And so they're really at an advantage at that. So you look at Rock South's schedule, for example, and I'll bring O&J's up or Springford's up after this, or Boyertown's for that matter, and we can basically cross compare. So Rock South goes to Cumberland Valley Kickoff Classic out in District 3, as we talked about. Cumberland Valley, traditionally a team that's in and around some of the top, always a top team in District 3, which sometimes translates to a top team in the state. Over the Christmas break, they go to Bethlehem Holiday Hurricane Classic up at Bethlehem Liberty. Again, they're a top team that used to draw the likes of Wyoming Seminary and things like that. And those teams don't go there anymore, but it's still a very heavily contested tournament. You go a little bit further, they host Escape the Rock, which, is again a tournament that has turned into one of the premier tournaments within the state, within the season.
I would say within the country. I mean, it's in my top 5. I mean, King of the Mountain used to be that one of those top 5 in the nation in my mind, but Escape the Rock, it may have, kind of exceeded them, passed them a little bit in terms of the quality teams they have. So Escape the Rock, to get into Escape the Rock, it's tough to get in there.
So then the last tournament they go to is the Parkland Duels, a dual meet tournament. So again, they're getting top level competition in individual tournaments and in dual meets. And we look at O&J's schedule. So they go to the Brian Beeler Memorial Duels, which is also known as the Bear Duels, at Boyertown High School opening weekend. Again, great competition and within their pool and on the crossovers, any way you look at it. Then they go to King of Mountain next weekend up at Central Mountain High School. Now, King of Mountain seems to be the hot tournament where a lot of District 1 teams that are looking to get good competition get out. I know Henderson goes there as well. Boyertown goes there. I think Downingtown East was there. I'm not sure if they're still there. But, a lot of these teams outside District 1 are getting there to get more competition. O&J travels over Christmas break to the Buckskin Classic at Conestoga Valley. Again, a very solid tournament in District 3. Again, they're getting outside of District 1. And then they finish with Escape the Rock as their last tournament. And because the PAC wrestles more league matches, it keeps PAC teams from going to more tournaments. So, they only get those 4 tournaments as opposed to the 5 that the Suburban 1 teams can take advantage of if they want. I mean, maybe they get extra duels involved. And, we'll just go one more and we'll talk about the schedule. We'll go Boyertown. And Boyertown, again, goes to the dual meet that they host. They go to King of Mountain as well. They go to the Governor Mifflin Holiday Classic out in District 3 at Governor Mifflin High School. And they go to Escape the Rock as well. So there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, if you want to even take a look at one more schedule, you look at Hatboro Horsham, for example. They go out to Solanco, see those District 3 teams. Solanco has always been powerful. Central Dauphin will be there this year. And then we come home, we have our own tournament, the Wetzel, with 32 teams. And in between, we have mixed in a couple of dual meet tournaments. And then we return back to Dallastown Duels after the new year. So, again, Hatboro Horsham schedule, like you said earlier, one of the tougher schedules. And if you look at some of these matchups down the road, I mean, scheduling could be a key.
So again, we'll take one more and look at Downingtown West, Cumberland Valley with Rock South. Then they go to the Comet Classic at Penn Manor, which you've been there several times with teams I've coached. and it's a very good tournament. A lot of teams at Penn Manor High School out in District 3. Then they go to Powerade over Christmas break. Again, one of the top teams or top tournaments in the country. Again, when we talk about it, when you mentioned Escape the Rock, Powerade is like, just better. I mean, you're getting teams from all over the country going to Powerade, and they go to Rock Yard Duels out of Council Rock North, and they go to Exeter Duels at Exeter High School. So they're getting a lot of good, solid competition there, both individual tournaments and in dual meet tournaments. So does this help these teams? It's no coincidence that these top teams in our region are going to the top tournaments, not just the few that we have inside the region, but the many that are around the state. So it's no coincidence. Does the strength of schedule help you? Yes. Does it make your team better? Yes. Does it do great things for your team? Yes. It checks every box when it comes down to, does it help these teams? Now, in the same breath, is it these teams' fault that they can't go to these good tournaments? These teams that are fringe teams. We talk about Henderson. We talk about East. We talk about Hatboro. We talk about look at the list. Maybe in North Penn. Sometimes that restriction comes from within the district, and they have no control over that. So for you, coach, we're not downplaying you. We're not saying that you're choosing an easy schedule. What we're saying is, this is a direct correlation to what's helping. We can't speak for whether or not your district allows you to go to those places, and sometimes that is a big deciding factor. It comes down to money. It costs money to send these teams these places, and if you don't have a booster club in place, or you don't have parents footing the bill for sometimes, the district's not paying money. We totally get that, and sometimes you do the best of what you have. And that's what it comes down to. So these teams, to finish Lee's question one last time, like, it is vitally important to get the best competition possible at all times.
All right, so I think Mike probably wants us to roll into our college selection. So we're going to talk a little bit about where some of our guys are going to go here. I believe we have 4 commits. I'm going to throw them up on the screen here. We have Elijah Jones of Boyertown, heading to Lehigh. No surprise there to get up there with his buddy Jordan Wood, but Lehigh's just going to get nothing but good things out of Jones up there. And Brendan Meredith going with Penn State. Mike's happy about that, from Springford. And certainly we talked about Stillings earlier about going to Drexel, and then Zaff going to Penn. I mean, so not only real strong wrestling programs, but academics for these guys, and certainly for a coach and a fan. And a father, to see these kids go to these type of schools to wrestle is just outstanding at the Division I level.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first thing that jumps off the screen at you is where these kids are going. Lehigh, Penn State, Drexel, Penn, Ivy League, Big Ten, EIWA. These are not just great programs, and they're great academic institutions, and it's a testament to the type of kids these are. We talked about, like, these kids, and some of these kids as individuals and as human beings, and they're good people, and it shows, like, they're well rounded. Doug Zaff didn't get into Penn because he's a good wrestler. He got into Penn because he's got good grades and because he works hard at that too. So it's evident Doug Zaff is a kid who works extremely hard at his craft, whether it be academics or in the athletic realm. Elijah Jones. They don't just say, hey, you know what, you're good at wrestling, why don't you come to Lehigh? Like, you got to have more to it. And same with Penn State, same with Drexel. These are schools that are not easy to get into, and maybe wrestling played a minor part as a vehicle to get them there. But now that they've used wrestling as wrestling has used them, and they're there, and they've made these commitments. And let's talk about the programs a little bit. Lehigh would against a not depleted, but a team, not a full strength Penn State team, almost pulled off a monumental upset the other day. Penn State's Penn State. We're all Pennsylvania wrestling fans. May not all be Penn State fans, but make no mistake, the run they're on is nothing short of incredible. Drexel is one team that I'm excited to watch in the coming years, just based upon the way they recruited. Last year, this year, Stillings part of a big recruiting class for Drexel. Matt Acevedo is maybe his best recruiting class yet. He's got everyone's favorite world beater Austin DeSanto there, and if you're following college wrestling at all and seeing what he's done as of late, it's again something amazing, and they got something cooking there in Philadelphia that's been lacking.
Yeah, and Acevedo's the right man. I mean, this guy comes in from the West Coast, from Arizona State, and I think we haven't even seen what he can do. I mean, he hasn't even had a full class, really. Has he had a 5-year
I think he's
group?
getting ready to. This is year 5, I believe.
Yeah,
for him,
so I mean, this is his 5th year. I mean, we're going to see, where Drexel kind of plays out here the next couple of years. But I mean, the recruiting alone right now, I mean, Stillings is a good grab for Drexel.
Yeah, and then Doug Zaff going to Penn again. The southeast part of the state with Penn and Drexel has been lacking. I'd say a lot of staying power with wrestling. You got to go back to when Matt Valenti was a 2-time national champ for Penn, to where there was a buzz around wrestling in the city, and with the Beat the Streets and everything's going on there, and the numbers of guys coming out to wrestle and the quality of wrestling coming from the city, this can only help to make that better. You got the regional training center there at Penn. A lot of guys from District 1 make their way down there on weekends to train. And Doug Zaff is no different. I know Stillings gets in that room, and gets in there and trains. Brandon Slay's in there. They got guys that are coming in to train these kids, and it's a breeding ground. Like, success breeds success, and that's what that training center, a full room, is just loaded with hammers from around the area, and they're just there to get better. And so when we talk about Brandon Meredith going to Springford, or going from Springford to Penn State, projecting as a 25-pounder, that's he's definitely a kid that again has lofty goals, could find himself being in that lineup. They're a little bit under recruited there, 125 pounds, with Suriano leaving. Not saying he's gonna walk in next year and be the man, but there's it's definitely a spot of need there for the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, certainly with Mega Ludus graduating now a couple of years. I mean, they need to fill that spot. We're going to listen to a couple of the guys talk here a little bit about their selections, and you're going to hear a little bit from them right now.
The coaches and the academics, I really like the co-op program there, and Coach Jeva and Azevedo and Schaefer. So I was thinking about sports management. So
it was an exciting process. Definitely a tough decision. I decided between that and Maryland, but I mean, at the end of the day, Penn State's the best wrestling room in the country, and I feel like that gives me the best opportunity to succeed. Those coaches are really humble and really great.
It was a great experience. I love Lehigh. The few main reasons that I picked it was one, it's really, really good academically, very prestigious, and I wish to pursue a career in mechanical and chemical engineering, which they are top of the line for engineering as a school, which is great. And then also I wanted to wrestle in college at a high level because I love wrestling. It's my favorite sport by far, and I just want to be able to do that forever. And they granted me the opportunity to wrestle D1 with them, so it was just a really great opportunity to be able to do that. Definitely had some motivation from like Jordan Wood and other people who were like, you'd be a really great fit, you should really look at Lehigh. Not so much that they're like pushing me like choose Lehigh, but more like, hey, like this is a really great school, like what you want to do, maybe you should look into it.
So right after States, I visited there, probably like a month after. I really liked it there. I visited a few schools, but I visited with the old Penn coach, but now Coach Rand is there, and I really like them. Really like Coach Pearsall, Coach Pammy, all of them. I go down there for the RTC, and I enjoy it a lot down there.
So there you get to see from the right from their mouth why they chose their school and what they were excited about. Any other District 1 wrestlers that have already committed to wrestle places, please get with us. Email, post on the forum so we can get it out there and promote it again. We're all about promoting everyone. Doesn't matter what school you're going to. If you're going to wrestle at that next level, even if it's at the club level, let us know. We're going to get it out there. We're going to promote it. We're going to promote you. Make sure that there is people know. So if they're out and about and see a match, they can watch some former D1 alumni wrestle. So using that as a segue to go to our former D1 alumni that are wrestling at the next level, we have quite a few. 136 on the list, maybe even 137. There might be a few omitted, but there's just, like I said, again, we can talk at length about these guys. A few of the Division 1 guys we have from the area. Mike Boykin from Coatesville, remember, former state champ, is wrestling NC State this year. A few guys that definitely want to talk about. We have Jordan Wood, wrestled against Penn State in the dual meet the other day. Came up on the short end of the stick, but it's a match. Maybe they might see each other later. It was just 2-0. Wasn't might be a match that could go a different way.
Yeah, that would have been spectacular if Jordan sealed the deal for Lehigh there.
Yes.
But that was a tough one. I mean, going down there, I don't know. Maybe go to your feet, but who knows?
Yeah.
It's a great match.
And hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah, especially for a coach.
Something to bring up. We got some guys from District 1 that are, enjoying Southern life this year. We got 4 guys, alumni from District 1, that have made their way to, of all places, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. And I think it's a credit to Dave Hoffman, product of the Hill School, All-American Virginia Tech, who's now the, I believe, associate head coach there. I might be misquoted, but he's definitely on the staff with Heath Esslinger. And he's done a good job recruiting in District 1 in the area. Freshman, he has Chase Stevens and Ryan Resnick, both state medalists last year. Chase Stevens, a 2-time medalist. Resnick, a 2-time qualifier, 1-time medalist. Wade Cummings is there, Downingtown East, transferred there from NC State. And Dominic Petroselli transferring there from York College. So you got 4 guys from there, and they just got, I believe, was it Joe Macri? Or not? Well, one of the Macri from Ken McMillan signed there. So they're doing good things. They're recruiting PA, which for anyone that we all know Penn State of Pennsylvania and the rich tradition of wrestling. If you want to be successful, get some Pennsylvania guys on your roster. It goes a long way. So that's that we got a small contingency of guys going down to UTC, and I'm sure they're not going to be the last ones that come from this area to go down there.
Yeah, and if you want to look at some of the Division III guys, you have Eric Hutchinson from Conestoga last year making a jump up in weight class up to 157 for York College. They're one of the better teams in Division III, top 25 in the country. So he made a real good adjustment at the college level, as we knew he would with his being so tough on his feet.
Yeah. One guy we mentioned from Westchester Henderson, Kyle Medro, doing a lot of success at Wilkes University. Set some records as a freshman for wins. Doing great things up there for the Colonels. And like I said, we got 4 pages of guys when we print them out that can be looked at. Can't go much further to talk about without talking about Matt Parker. He's ranked 2nd in the nation right now at 133 pounds. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, Scott Parker. Matt Parker's at Lehigh as well. Maybe not yet. That's a foreshadowing for something. Mike, thanks for catching that. Maybe at some point in time, Matt Parker ranked that high, but Scotty Parker enjoying a lot of success right now on the mat, and we wish, hope to see him, maybe in that final on Saturday night in Cleveland this year.
Yeah, and certainly that's another Penn Ridge guy that used to put up a lot of bonus points. and he put up some bonus points against Penn State the other day, getting back-to-back falls there for the Mountain Hawks. So, Matt, the list really is deep, and I know we want to get to some other stuff, and I think if Mike's going to be ready to rock and roll here with our incoming freshman slide, we'll kind of just start it that way. We're going to talk a little bit about these freshmen. I'm not real familiar with these guys. Joe has a little bit of knowledge of some of these guys, but I do want to talk about James Geiger from Penn Ridge. I know Josh Stillings talked about him when we interviewed him, and he's really excited to see this young guy join the squad. And he's ranked in the top 30 in the top-ranked freshman by PIAA Power Wrestling. So again, we're on that Penn Ridge conversation. Here we go with the next man up, and it's a freshman that's ranked that high. Another guy that's ranked real high is this Sam Beckett from Souderton. Don't know a whole lot about him. I don't think Joe and I are too familiar with him, but we've heard really good things from the PJW circuit as well as the other junior wrestling. This guy is a top 20 guy. He's right there, 15 top ranked wrestler by PIAA Power Wrestling. So certainly adding wins to that Souderton team.
Yeah. Again, I don't know a whole lot about Sam Beckett other than what I read about him. He's going to be a guy that's going to be in conversation there. Punch and ticket to Hershey. He's a freshman for Tristan's squad there at Souderton. Just to make note of honorable mention, Jake Brownlee is not at Owen J. Roberts. He is at Malvern Prep, has been there since he's been in 8th grade, but is not wrestling either. So just make note of that. Just the inaccuracy of the list. 3 guys I can speak about at length, or just more so than the other ones, will be the 3 young men from Springford. So this is why one of the reasons why the spring four is going to be as high as they are. These are three guys that, again, I don't want to snake bite them and give them, undue pressure, but they're guys that not going to carry spring four by any sense of imagination, but they're going to turn heads this year. McGill, Milano, and Needles are, they're tough. They tormented, O&J in middle school for 2 seasons, and they're every bit as tough as they're built, and to see them wrestle and to see them ranked, Needles being a honorable mention, and McGill and Milano, the guys ahead of them, must really have the resumes to boot, because these guys are good. They're going to come in, and I'm not going to put a number on how many matches they're going to win. So I don't think that's fair to them to anoint them as something and then have them feel they have to live up to it. But they're gonna turn heads this year, and it's gonna be part of this spring 4 team that is gonna turn a lot of heads. And I said earlier, and I stand by it. They're a team that's going to get better as the season goes on because of the level of competition they wrestle and the competition that's going to be in the room day in and day out.
Yeah, we heard about, Hauserman. Coach Vivacqua talked about Kyle Hauserman, number 36 ranked top freshman this year. And, that's another guy we're looking for some great things as a 6-pounder, and someone we'll probably see to go to Hershey as well. I mean, that 106-pound weight class around here, it's going to be tough again. I mean, and that's great. Another guy we heard, our new coach from Kennett, Coach Regal, talk a little bit about Trent Kokersberger at 132 pounds, where he projects out. So it'll be interesting to see how he does as well.
So that takes us from talking about our top incoming freshmen. We're going to talk about some other new faces going to be seen around the District 1 this year, and it's going to be our new head coaches.
I think Mike has a slide of the new coaches as well, so we'll pull them up, and we'll just go right down the list here in alphabetical order. I mean, we've heard from Coach Jones on our video a little bit about his expectations and what some of the top teams are. Joe knows a little bit more about Coach Jones, so maybe you can talk a little bit about what the expectations are for the Boyertown Bear fans for their new coach.
Well, I think one thing Dave Jones brings to the table is continuity. He's a product of the system. He wrestled for Pete Ventresca. He still has Tony Haley as an assistant. So, the anyone that thinks that Boyertown is gonna, lose a step, like, you don't really need to have that kind of feeling. Dave Jones is going to bring a lot of consistency to what you've already seen. He's a tremendous technician. I've had him work camps for me before. He eats, sleeps, breathes the sport, and he's going to, I think he's going to blossom into a very good head coach. Coached against him in middle school as they were grooming him to be the guy to replace Pete, and I think it's gonna, it's a good fit. It's where he went to school. He loves the community, lives in the community, teaches in the community. It just screams that it feels right. I'll talk about Coach Boyer, Jeff from Peanut, as some people know him from Coatesville. He had to endure being Bear Stevens' assistant coach yesterday and wait for him to finally give it up. And, one question I fielded today in a text message from Nate H., and that's all I'm saying. I'm not going any further on what the H stands for. He said, "Hey, Joe, what I want to answer tonight in the District 1 preview is how long do you think Coatesville program will last before folding without the leadership of legendary coach Bear Stevens?" And to answer that, Nate, it won't. First of all, it's not very big shoes to fill because Bear's feet are small. Secondly, there will be no coach with blonde streaks in his hair running around in the postseason saying woo all the time. So not a really big shoes to fill. I think Coach Bauer is going to hit the ground running with that program, and he's going to do great things. Now, I give Bear a hard time. He's one of my buddies. Bear did great things, and that Coatesville program is going to hurt him. I don't know what on earth Mark Durant was thinking, taking him on as an assistant coach, but that's Mark's problem now, and it'll be District 3's problem in a year. So we won't have to worry about those guys much at all. So going next, I think. Glenn, maybe you want to talk about this next one?
Yeah, I mean, we look at this list. I mean, obviously, the change at Boyertown and a change here with me retiring at Happahorse. I mean, Trent Mongill will be the third coach in the last 50 years at Happer Horsham. I mean, Ralph Wetzel was there for 33 years. I was there for 17. I mean, so he's a Happer Horsham guy as well. Went through my program. I trust him with the reins at this point. I'm going to stick around just to kind of, make a good transition for him and for the school district, which is important. But in terms of the program, you're not going to see much of a change in our style. And I think Trent is going to do a nice job. He's going to have to put together a younger coaching staff and add assistants, down the road. As we were talking earlier off camera, that if you don't have good assistants, you're going to struggle a little bit. So Trent has some work to do to put together a staff once I walk away for good. But I think, the Hatters are in good hands. Again, and let's jump down to Methacton and Phoenixville. Sorry to skip Coach Regal at Kennett, but we did hear from him earlier. The Clark brothers are going to be across the map from one another in the pack. Maybe a little drop off for Brandon with Phoenixville looking to cross over at Brad from Methacton. But these are Methacton guys. This may be what, Methacton, with Brad Clark coming in, taking over for AJ. You might see a kind of an old school Methacton mentality come back, for them. And I think that's a pretty significant change. I mean, if you look at this, obviously Boyertown, and Happer Horsham, and Methacton, with those changes, I mean, those are three of the bigger ones. I think Brad's going to do a great job. I really do. So I'm waiting to see the product that Methacton has on the mat this year.
Yeah. Looking at Methacton and Phoenixville, again, two teams from the pack, two guys that I, coached against at different times. First of all, great guys, stand-up guys. They're going to run great programs. Brad did a nice job at Pottstown last year in his first year. Obviously, the lure to go home to your alma mater and coach is a calling that you just sometimes can't ignore. And even though he was only at Pottstown for a year, I think anyone in their right mind would have taken the same opportunity to go back to your alma mater because the opportunity doesn't come around very often. And I think Phoenixville hiring Brandon Clark is a home run hit for them. Phoenixville is has great youth programs set in place as far as structure. I was within that program for a better part of 6 years. There's pieces in place, and I think Brandon is the young guy, the young blood, what they need to bring it out. And already there's he's got Mark Houseel on his staff, Charlie Kramer, District 1 Hall of Fame coach, is helping out as well.
We're talking about Charlie off camera earlier.
Yeah. So he's got a nice staff there, and they're getting kids out. They're getting people excited about it. There's a little bit of a buzz about it. Will he be beating his brother anytime soon? Probably not. But give Brandon some time. I think he's going to do good things there, and it's a nice job that I think he can settle into. Because I don't know if Methacton's going to be calling him anytime soon with his brother there.
No, and you get your feet wet real quick in the pack, so I think Brandon will be just fine. Plymouth White Marsh, David Luthi takes over for Justin Giovinco, a two-time state champ who also wrestled for Bob Lawrence, a Hall of Fame coach himself at PW. I mean, Luthi has some big shoes to fill there, but Luthi's been with the program for a long time, was coaching with Lawrence and Giovinco. So I think they're in good hands with Luthi. I don't think Giovinco's going too far away from the program.
And they lured Marcus Johnson over from Upper Merion.
Yep.
So again, you bring in another guy as head coaching experience, join a program, friend of his. So again, we talk about it, and how long do we talk about it off camera, and how many times we talk about it. And Glenn mentioned earlier, you're only as good as your assistant coaches. And the more guys you can bring in your room that are positive impact on your wrestlers, the better the program is going to be. And then you look at these top programs, and we talk about strength of schedule, but you look at these top programs, they have numerous coaches on their staff, guys that volunteer, whether it be an alumni that is young and gets his clearances and volunteer coach stuff in place, and you have all these guys coming in, 5, 6, 7 guys. That's what it takes too. I mean, it's more than just going and wrestling a tough schedule. You have to have, on the other hand too, you have to have the foundation built, and if you're not doing it with good coaching and putting your team around good guys, that could be a missing piece there. So talking about putting a good staff around you, I think Dave Luthi, as a young coach, is doing right by putting the right people around him that are going to support him, help him, and help to build that program.
Absolutely. You talk about Marcus Johnson coming over from Upper Merion and Tim Harner coming in and taking that job at Upper Merion. Another family job wrestling there. Timmy's going to go against his dad up there at Norristown. Not far, but they go far to wrestle in the pack. But I'm real excited for Tim. Tim had a great career at Norristown. Obviously, his records there at Norristown, and what a great career at Princeton.
Yeah.
So you got a smart guy, taking over a program that probably needs some rebuild.
Yeah.
And rebuild from the ground up. And Tim may be the guy. Again, numbers are a problem there at Upper Merion. Hopefully Tim can generate some interest there in the program. And, same thing with Brian Tannen, another guy who went to Lehigh, wrestled from Soderton. Again, these are local guys that wrestled in District 1. I talked about these guys in my article for the Suburban One website the other day. And, I'm really excited for him out there at Springfield Delco. I mean, that's a target-rich environment for wrestling as well. I mean, Delco has been down a little bit the last couple of years, but, Tannen could get in there and change that real quick.
Rich tradition, and they're definitely looking to be winner. Talking about Tim Harner, what do you think that first duel meet between Norristown and Upper Merion is going to look like? Besides the score, mark across the mat from Tim.
I think there's going to be a lot of laughs in that match, and certainly Tim's going to want to do everything he can to beat his dad with that Upper Merion team. I'd like to be at that one. I don't know if I can make it, but there'll be a lot of laughs at that one.
I think the same thing too. Seeing if the Clark brothers end up on other opposite sides of the mat, it'd be interesting to see them at the PAC tournament and how they interact. But that Brandon was on Brad's staff last year at Pottstown, and if Phoenixville didn't come available, maybe Brandon would end up inheriting the team that Brad took. But then, Brandon found the opportunity at Phoenixville to be a better fit for him. Took that, and then it opened the door for Nick Wade to come in and take over at Pottstown. And, Nick Wade is a guy that's in the building. Again, he inherits some guys on his staff that have just been there. Like, the AD Onspach, I know Steve is in there helping. And, there are plenty of people that are pulling for him to do well, and again, Pottstown's a team that has good numbers. The smaller AAA school that shares a lot of athletes, but with other sports, so they have to it's a process to uphill battle at that to get better. But Pottstown's a team that's always going to come in and going to wrestle tough. They always have a few tough guys, and I know next week after this opening weekend, I know next Wednesday is the rivalry match with O&J. It's at Pottstown again, and it's the takedown cancer match, and so that is something that every year the Pottstown area looks forward to at that match, and it's a lot of the proceeds benefit good cause. And so, like I said, it's the O&J Pottstown Takedown Cancer match. There's also a traveling trophy with that rivalry match as well. It's one of the long-standing ones in the area, and the PAC for that.
And if you notice the list of new coaches, I mean, the PAC does have the most new coaches. Again, and Upper Perk, and Steve Adam taking over there. I mean, it's not been a revolving door at Upper Perk. I think Upper Perk, that's a Hans program. Sammy out there. In the last couple of years, and now they're going to bring in Adam. I mean, there's a big shakeup up there. So Steve's in a tough spot here. I mean, first year coach coming out with Upper Perk. I'm interested to see how they perform. I mean, I think the kids and the Upper Perk, program. I mean, the long tradition there. We talked about traditions, so that'll be one to watch.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely new era in that program with the. It's now completely detached from, you said, the Tom Hans era. So I'm excited for Steve Adam to put his mark on this program. And, it doesn't feel like District 1 in the last, 10, 15 years without an Upper Perk team that has been effective. Sam had a very nice team last year. He's lacked numbers, but he had a lot of tough kids, and some of the kids are back. And I alluded to Jared Coons earlier, a guy I just love to watch wrestle. So Steve's going to inherit some guys that some tough guys, and he has an opportunity to start making his mark on the program, which be fun to watch that maturation. So we're going to switch gears now. There's been a couple new rule changes for this year, and some confusion already. Some that is just some public, some not. But the confusion is going to reign supreme this year during the season because it's different. PIAA, and I'm gonna throw this over to Glenn in a second. PIAA started to adopt some rules closer to college style wrestling with the out of bounds. Glenn's gonna go in depth because he's our resident expert on that, and he's gonna talk about the other new rule change for this year.
Yeah, I'll get that first rule change right out of the way, and I'm a little disappointed Mike couldn't have some singlets up here and some fresh shorts and some tight shirts that we're going to be seeing on the mats this year. But I really think you're going to see some different uniforms. And the PIAA and the National Federation, they have allowed shorts and shirts now to be worn during matches. As long as it's school issued, you're good to go. There are some rules with some, tight fitting and loose fitting, parameters. But you will see combinations of shirts and shirts under the singlet as well as permittable. So it's going to be interesting with the new look. So that's a big rule change. So we'll see what the uniforms look like this weekend. I'm really curious to see what people put out on a dual meet. But I think you're going to see kids wearing different stuff in the dual meet too. The biggest rule change, and this is a positive rule change, and I think we're moving, Joe, to what we want, and that's the college game here at the PIAA level in Scholastic Wrestling. So the first way we're going to do that is to address the out of bounds with the pinning combinations. You are going to allow to pin your opponent outside of the lines as long as your supporting points are inbounds. I guess the biggest rule change for this is you're going to earn back points as well on the out of bounds. So totally out of bounds. The defensive wrestler's out of bounds, back exposed. You're going to get points as long as the offensive wrestler has supporting points inbounds.
And can you explain to them what the supporting points are?
Yeah, so this is the area that we're concerned about. So obviously you can get back points now out of bounds and secure the fall. However, there are going to be some interesting interpretations. Some refs are going to blow things out of bounds and give the two, even if it's a takedown to the back. If there's a toss on the line, you toss a kid back to his back, your knees hit inbounds, and then maybe you rise up to your toes to pin him. You may see that blown out of bounds. And we were talking about this. This is also going to apply with the Peterson. When you hit a Peterson out of bounds, you're clearly in bounds. Your butt comes up off the mat. Now you're going to be blown out because your supporting points are, that should be your butt or your knees. Now it's your feet, but your feet are only, balancing act. They're your balancing points, not your support points. So some very interesting tweaks to the out of bounds rule, but the bottom line is you're going to be able to pin your opponent out of bounds, and I think that's a long time coming in getting those points. But we really want to see the takedown rule come into play next year. Yeah. I think it's going to be a couple years, but we'll see it soon enough. Yeah. So those are really the big ones.
I mean, I think the positive is we're evolving to that, and it's gonna be a trial run. If I could, give my 2 cents, be patient with the officials. It's new to them. It's completely different than what they've called, except for the officials that do college and both do high school. So be patient with the officials. It's easy to get on their back. It really is. But, until you go out there, put the stripes on and do it yourself, it's really, really a thankless job. And we have some great officials in District 1, and it's going to be an adjustment period for everyone. So if I can, give any advice whatsoever, they're going to do the best that they can. They really are. They really do. They've been training. They've been talking about it in a lot of dialogue, open dialogue among people, and they've been very transparent with the coaches, the steering committees, and things like that, so that everyone's clear on what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be calling it. Will they get it right every single time from the start? Probably not. But, that is what, it's part of the learning process. It's part of the evolution. And I think everyone wants those out-of-bounds rules in high school, especially because you don't always wrestle on a large mat, and there's sometimes not a lot of room to work, so you need that out-of-bounds space, especially when you're on, like I said, a smaller mat. And so, as one of the things we talked about in district duels in the past year, wrestling the district duels on those small mats, this sort of out-of-bounds rule could be really huge in deciding some close matches. So,
Yeah, and one other thing, if you want to get real in depth on the rule change, you can obviously go to www.piaa.org. That'll give you all the rule changes there in the wrestling bulletin. You can also go to the Federation, the NFHS wrestling rule book interpretations. They can be found online as well. So if you really want to get into the rules, take a look at them. But you will see some new uniforms, and you'll see some pins outside the line.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, to be honest, perfectly honest. I can't wait till they evolve further. The called rules are way more exciting in my opinion. Just my 2 cents. Feel free to dispute that via Twitter if you'd like. So we're going to change gears. We're winding up the show here. We've only a few more points to talk to you about. Postseason. So this is the last year for league tournaments, which to some people's, they're excited about that. So league tournaments are going to be eliminated as far as part of postseason. Some leagues will still conduct their league tournament, or they're welcome to. And the nice thing about having a league tournament, as Glenn knows, is it doesn't count towards your points on your schedule if you have a league tournament. So if it's something that leagues want to explore, they're more than welcome to. But what they're going to do next year is change it to 4 district tournaments, which are going to feed into 1 regional tournament. So here up on the screen we have the map. And if you look at we'll start with the South.
Yeah, just before you get into that, I just want to kind of explain a little bit about the committee, because I think a lot of things, that come out from the committee often are perceived as it's the old, boys network with the coaches. And Mike Leisher has been a big part of helping District 1 not only come up with this map that we're going to talk a little bit about, but also develop a lot of, generate a lot of statistics to kind of show us that leagues kind of really passed us by. The turnout's low, the fan base isn't good, the weight classes aren't full, not only not full rosters, but the Del Val League, nothing against them, but there's 5 teams and they're sending 3 guys to a district tournament. So proportion of wrestlers. The map here, there was a lot of work that went into this. About 10 years ago, Tom Bavacqua and I, along with Joe Tornetta, we really tried to get the District 1 coaches to really make this change then. It didn't fly. This time around with the ADs, with the pressure from the principals, the committee really has been looking at changes. So this is kudos to the committee, Denny Kellen and all of District 1 for putting these changes together. So Joe's going to talk a little bit about the map, but I just wanted to give everyone a background that this is not a fly-by-night decision. This isn't a quick sketching of what was done. This took a lot of work and a lot of statistics.
So we're going to go back to a 16-man bracket at the regional level. Each district's going to send 4 guys to regionals, or each district tournament. And as you can see in the map, North, South, East, and West. And if you can't see that well on your screen right now, I'll start with the South. In my opinion, the South is right now at this point in time we're at in District 1. The South might be the weakest of the 4 districts. And that's going to consist of Academy Park, Cheltenham, Harriton, Haverford High, Interborough, Lower Merion, Marple Newtown, Penwood, Plymouth Whitemarsh, Radnor, Ridley, Springfield Delco, Strathaven, Upper Darby, Upper Dublin, and Wissahickon. So that's your South right there. And that consists of teams from Del Val, from the Central League, from the Suburban 1, and those are the ones that comprise of that.
Yeah, I think this is the one that has the most from the other leagues. Suburban 1, American teams are, going over here. Now, this isn't a far stretch, though, from what we've seen in the last couple of years. Now we're getting together. I think people also need to understand that this year there's 3 districts again. There is a change this year for the East. This year, the East will have all the Suburban 1 League teams. The Del Val has been moved out of the East, and they're going back with the Chestmont teams. That just makes sense with those 5 teams. So 3 districts this year, and this is all for next year. 4 super districts. I love the word super districts. Mike calls them sections. That's what the rest of the state calls them. We're the last region in the state of Pennsylvania to finally go to this format where we're going to actually have a 3-week postseason as opposed to that grind. And as we know, some of the this is another big reason for the rule, for the change and the shift is that, these kids are banging the same kids each week, banging heads, possibility of getting hurt, extra weigh-in. Do we really need to see, those guys wrestle again, time in and time out. And if it's the PAC or the Suburban One League, some of these kids, you may see them wrestle all 4 weeks.
Yep.
All the way through to Hershey. So I think there's a lot of advantages for wrestlers. It also helps our teams that are going to the state duels. They get a little break as well with the leagues not going down the week before. We're going to see leagues, I think they're not going to go away. They're not going to disappear. They're just going to happen probably mid-January. Get that free league tournament, and that's what's going to happen. I don't know if you want to go down with the rest of the
yeah, might as well
here.
While we're here. We'll go through them. The West Super District, because I like that term. Avon Grove, Chichester, Coatesville, Downtown East, Downtown West, Garnet Valley, Glen Mills, Kennett, Oxford, Pencrest, Sun Valley, Unionville, Westchester East, Westchester Henderson, Westchester Ruston. So there you go. You got some Del Valle teams. You have a majority of your Chesmont, and you have some or just that's what you have. You don't have any of the Central League in there. So there you have. I'm sorry, I take that back. You do have some Central. You have Pencrest in there, but there's a league that's again pretty tough. These super districts, just to get to regions is going to be goals of a lot of kids now because the path has been, the game's changed. The path has now become harder, which the way it should be. You weed out a lot of competition. These district tournaments are going to be very well attended. They're going to renew a lot of rivalries.
They're going to be 2-day.
Yep.
District tournaments, double elimination, 14 wrestlers from every team in District 1. So, the old days when you became a district qualifier, that was a big step when you started out in wrestling. Now we're all going to districts. And,
yep.
To get through those grind of a tournament is really going to make for a nice 16-man region. So the format really stays the same. We're advancing 4 from each, make that 16-man region. I can't wait for a 16-man region again. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, some favorite memories are down at Oxford when they put the all the mats out and that great gym down there.
Yep.
And having it there. So Oxford, if you're listening, love to see you guys hosting it. I know it's far for a lot of people, but it's a nice gym. Maybe Rock South.
We'll be there this year, so
yeah. Maybe Rock South can host again sometime. They put on a nice regional tournament a few years back. But going to the East bracket or East Super District, it has a very heavy Suburban 1 flavor. Abington, Ben Salem, all your Central Buck schools, East, West, and South. Your Council Rock schools, North and South. Truman, Hatboro, Neshaminy, North Penn, Penridge, Pennsbury, Quakertown, Upper Moreland, and William Tennant. Again, there's your Suburban 1 tournament, Glenn.
Yeah, and we talked about actually having a combined Suburban 1 league tournament. That was another reason I think the committee kind of got the word that that leagues are kind of dying here in the SOL. We are the largest conference in District 1. So that league may have been the primary push for this change, but I like to talk about the old Bucksmont League. But this really does give us the old Bucksmont League minus the PAC schools that have left it with the original SOL team. So this is definitely a true SOL district, and we're going to see that this year with the East again. So really not a change here, and a really good balance in power, for the rest of the league. Now you're going to get into the biggie, with the PAC schools, and you're going to see some schools that are in there that probably don't want to be in that district, but go ahead and read them off.
So we go to the north, and I did save what we agree on is the best for last. Boyertown, Conestoga, Great Valley, Methacton, Norristown, Owen J. Roberts, Perk Valley, Phoenixville, Pope John Paul, Pottsgrove, Pottstown, Souderton, Springford, Upper Marion, and Upper Perk. So there you go. You got Conestoga and Great Valley to kind of, by the way they drew the line, maybe got a little squiggly down there in the south part of that North District and, included Great Valley and Conestoga. But, that is the PAC conference there, plus Souderton and Conestoga and Great Valley, as I talked about. And Souderton's a team that definitely, could go either way. Could go back to that old Suburban 1. But I think that Souderton's a program that's on the up. Tristan Boyd's got the program heading in the right direction, and they have a great youth program, a lot of numbers. So I think
and Tristan has that mentality that we got to be the best, we got to beat the best. He's not shying away from that at all.
He's anytime, any place, anywhere.
And unfortunately for the Central League, I mean the oldest league in the state of Pennsylvania, listen, the teams from the Central League have been the teams that have been moved in the past. Happel Horsham has been moved. Radnor's been moved. In fact, we had Phoenixville down here in our one district at one point too. So Phoenixville has been moved around. Radnor, now it's Conestoga from the Central League, and I understand those complaints, and there were very few complaints. I mean, we have Coach Nugent from Springford, the principal there. He's been a driving force for this, and he's been upfront with us. There were not a lot of concerns. I mean, obviously, school districts are going to have concerns when they get moved out of their old way, their old guard, and you separate teams from leagues. But we'll see how it goes. It'll be a 2-year plan. If it needs to change, we will relook at it. And as Mike has already talked about the classifications and the numbers, we're going to look at some of those teams. I think we're down to 5 AA teams. Am I correct on that, Mike? Yep. So you may get some of those teams that come back to AAA. But I mean, this is what we're looking at. I mean, this is what I would anticipate for the next 10, 15 years that we see this type of format. And that did get a little squiggly down there, that line, but it had to, just to accommodate the numbers. I mean, the numbers were pretty good. I think we have 2 at 16, 1 at 15, and 1 at 2 at 15, 2 at 16. I think that we did a great job of balancing the teams. And we'll just have to see, and that's for next year, folks.
And this map is on PIAAWrestling.com. Like, take a look at it. Like, there's not a lot of, it could have went either way with a few of those districts. Maybe could have taken Downingtown out of there and put them in the north and Conestoga into the west, but then that shifts a definite imbalance of power. That's not an even move there as far as program power, just in general. So it's just something to think about and to chew on a little bit when you look at it yourself. But Glenn, it was funny today. We talked, and it was, hey, there's about 30 minutes worth of video footage. Do you think you and Glenn, Mike's question was, do you think you and Glenn can talk for 30 minutes past it? I said, sure, yeah, no problem. I don't think that'll be an issue whatsoever. And here we are, about 2 hours and 10 minutes total time. Obviously, you got to subtract the video footage from it. I didn't think we'd have trouble talking. In fact, I figured we'd go kind of long, and maybe we lost some people along the way. Maybe some people joined that couldn't be there at the start of it. But we're passionate about it. We're passionate about the sport. We're passionate about promoting it. And, we did some homework, and we wanted to come prepared. We wanted to do the best we could for the fans, for the people that frequent the website. This something I check almost daily, even in the summer. During the season, I'm on it several times a day because I'm always looking to see what's on the forum. I'm always looking at something, whether a matchup, doing some kind of research for an upcoming match or tournament. But even in the summer, I'm on a lot, just looking, see if anyone's posting something, just because I'm passionate about it. And Glenn feels the same way. The amount of work that Mike does, and that he did editing a lot of video and getting this ready. It takes a lot, takes work, and I say it a lot, and he probably gets tired of me saying it, but the amount of work that Mike puts in, it doesn't, he's already giving me the cut it. He puts in a lot of work, and I know everyone appreciates it.
Yeah, and that's why I had to mention about with the steering committee. I mean, it's not all about statistics sometimes. Sometimes you have to use those statistics and make changes, and then Mike has helped us with that, and he's helped back it up with the principals and the ADs and the committee, and it is tremendous work. And if you are just joining us now here at the back end of this, it's not just Joe and I talking all night long here. We do have some great footage, so if you're going to replay this thing, plan on watching it for a little bit over 2 hours, about 2 hours and 15 minutes. There's some great video. Ready. Yeah, there's some great video. For me, this is a first time interviewing of the students, the student athletes, the coaches, talking about the programs, preseason, and it really isn't a rankings show. This was really a preseason show, and we're all ready to have that first whistle blow Friday night or whatever tournament you're at, or Saturday morning, if it's a dual meet or a dual meet tournament. And thanks to you, Joe and Mike, for having me. And we'll obviously be back. Joe and I'll talk it up, I'm sure, at our next match, which we think will be the Ruston match. Is that right? Or hopefully Penn Ridge Quakertown. I think both.
Yeah,
So
maybe little Friday Night Lights. We'll see how it works in our schedule. And just in closing, this is something that maybe we'd like to do again. If you're inclined to, maybe put some feedback on the good, bad, or indifferent feedback on the forum for us. Again, we got questions you want answered. As we come up, we'll do the same thing again. We'll do some live tweets. Maybe we might have another wrinkle or two up our sleeve if technology allots for it. And we're just looking to just promote the sport as much as possible. You'll see us around, and videotaping matches and things like that. And there's a lot of things we're hoping to get to throughout the season and see some good wrestling. So we're looking forward to wish every wrestler in District 1 some good luck. All the coaches, happy, healthy first weekend and season, and hoping to see District 1 have a very successful season, ending with a lot of guys going to Hershey and on that podium. So, Glenn, thanks. I really appreciate you coming and joining us this year. It's been a lot of fun. And any closing remarks?
just get out there and watch some live wrestling in District 1 this year. You're going to enjoy it.
Yep. Thanks. We appreciate it. Take care.